Reveille, reveille.
Look at us now.
Oh, Jesus.
It's what, 11 a.m.?
Kombat.
Oh,
Whoa. You fit in seamlessly in this weird MK environment.
Do you want a margarita?
We're gonna do it. On your marks, get set, and go down.
Hey, what's up, everybody? What's going on this? Jesus, what day is it? Oh, it's the first. It's the first of the month.
Friday and the first.
Friday and the first. Cash those
Right?
checks and get up. You know what I'm saying? Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Morning Kombat. I am merely, as always, just one half of your hosting duo. My name is Luke Thomas. I join you from the capital of Estados Unidos, right here in Washington, D.C., joined by longtime friend, longtime color analyst.
How much have you missed me? Luke, forget it. How much have you missed me in your life? Go ahead. Try and put it in. You can't. There are no words.
It really is an overwhelming amount. I can't handle
Right?
it. It's Jimmy Smith, everybody. Hi, Jimmy. How are you?
How are you doing, man? Good to see you. I was thrilled, by the way, to get the invite on here. And he's
Yeah.
like, dude, I understand if you came back. I know it's last minute. I was like, Luke, never, ever, ever would I possibly turn down an invitation from you. Ever.
Well,
Not possible. Unless I'm out of the country.
you
or something.
should, because it'd be okay. Jimmy, you're in Florida, if memory
Yes.
serves,
At the moment.
and you're gonna call Game Bred Bare Knuckle MMA
Tonight.
today.
Tonight, I'm going from here when the show is over down to Miami, production meeting, blah, 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 blah. Fight tonight for Jorge Masvidal's Game Bred, Bare Knuckle MMA. It's going to be a lot of fun. Me and Brendan Schaub. It's going to be a lot of fun, dude. Yeah.
Now, I saw the last one of these you guys did in the DR.
Yeah.
And Anthony Smith, by the way, holy shit, he came out like he shot out of a cannon.
He looked great.
He did look
Yeah.
great. Who's in the main event tonight?
It is Yoel Romero, right? That is going to be – it was supposed to be originally Yoel Romero taking on Hector Lombard. Then Alex Nicholson, a heavyweight who didn't get to fight in the Dominican Republic, his opponent didn't get there in time. The commission wouldn't let him go. He stepped up to the main event to take on Yoel Romero. And Yoel Romero just – dude's a freak.
First
Absolute
team all body.
Freak. Has the cheat code for life. The cheat – like he knows how to put the code in. It's unreal. The dude is my age and is an absolute phenom. Incredible.
Yeah.
So, he's going to be in the main event. It's going to be great.
It's quite rare that I see an athlete that, you see a lot of good athletes, a lot of great athletes, even a lot of elite athletes. And then there's freaks. You know what I mean? And Yoel Romero is quite obviously in the freak category. Did you see that dude out of Nigeria that I think it was the Eagles took, who has never played a down of football? He's 6'5", over 300 pounds, 7% body fat, had an over 40-inch vertical, and I think, I don't know how much he bench pressed, 225, but it was some absurd amount of time. They booked this dude on straight-up athleticism into the NFL.
The best way to put it, and I tell people this, I went to middle school and high school with an Olympic gold medalist. Her name is Andrea Anderson. She won a gold medal in the relay in 2000 in Sydney. And so I knew her from the time I was like 12 all the way through high school. And I tell people, athletes at that level are made of different shit than you and me. They're just made of different. Yes, work ethic. Yes, this. Yes, that. They start out made of different stuff. She was made of different stuff than a regular person. And it was absolutely incredible to watch her, like I said, from the time I was 12 to an Olympic gold medal. And I tell you, I go, Yoel Romero is just made of different things than a mere mortal. Cale Sanderson is made of different stuff than a mere mortal human being. And that's a great example.
Let's bring in the third member here of the show, our intrepid producer, who's made of the most ordinary things combined with THC. It's Long Island Luke. Hi, Long Island. How are you, bud?
What's up, man? I'm hyped. UFC Perth is what? I can't do math, but less than 12 hours away. I mean, they should.
It's soon, dude. It's like coming up
16 hours away.
I love the vagueness of it. Like, dude, it's happening.
It's soon, man. 4 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Right.
I'll be there. I'll be there bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as they say.
It's a flight.
THC levels will be high, alcohol levels. TBD.
Well, listen, it's the first of the month. Thank you, Long Island. It's the first of the month. So let's sort of set the tone here for the show today. There's so much going on. First of all, in the month of May generally, and in particular this weekend, we have UFC this weekend. We have PFL this weekend. We have literally arguably the greatest fight in Japanese history for boxing at the Tokyo Dome this weekend, as well as a kind of an early Cinco de Mayo fight for David Benavidez going up 25 pounds to fight Zurdo Ramirez.
Yes.
So this is just I want everyone to know this is going to be an insane month in combat sports, and the first weekend of it is certainly, Jimmy, no exception.
Yeah, insane. Not just, and what I love about it is on the MMA side with some cards we've gotten that have been, I see what's going on, a little bit mediocre. This one in Australia, I think, big stakes, we'll get into in a second. I like the stylistic matchup. I like so much for the Australian fans to get behind. And in boxing, if you're even a casual fan, if you have not seen Naoya Inoue fight, there are certain people in combat sports where you go, oh, I don't really know boxing. Hey, watch this guy. Right? We know the person who will make a casual fan, a hardcore fan, and that is Naoya Inoue. So it isn't just, a lot of stakes, and that's big in Japan. No. This is going to be an aesthetic, really fun fight with a guy who's a pound-for-pound great. And Benavidez, wondering personally where his ceiling is and where he lands and where he goes. I think the Zurdo Ramirez fight will tell us a lot. One loss between both of these fighters. It's an incredible weekend, man.
And to your point, and then we'll get the show started here in just a moment, but to your point, you're right about Naoya Inoue. It's like, he's in contention for pound. I mean, that's obviously part of it. And the other one, he's just, he's got a dominant puncher. I mean, you name it. Kind of funny. He's the monster. And then you have the Mike Tyson dubbed Mexican monster in David Benavidez. Not for nothing, Jimmy. He's got a fan-friendly style too.
Yes.
So it's like,
hand, speed,
it's
size, everything. Yeah.
It's like, so this weekend, it's like, I'm telling you, from the beginning of your day, East Coast time, if that's where you are, to the evening, man, there is a lot to enjoy. Let's set the tone here. Follow us on socials. Let's see. Do we get Jimmy's on here? Jimmy, do you prefer a Twitter follow or an IG follow?
I prefer an IG follow. That's right. J Smith MMA.
Dude, I don't know. I asked this question to all of our rotating hosts. Like, do you prefer a Twitter follow or an IG? The answer is never Twitter. It's
it really went into a dumpster fire. I haven't been on there in a long, long time. Man.
It fucking sucks. Let's see. You can reach the show, morningcombat@gmail.com. This is for fan subs, to reach the producers, and a whole lot more. And then, Long Island, set the table here for the merch, which, of course, is always going to be available, morningcombat.shop. We're not selling April's merch anymore. So if I went to morningcombat.shop, what is going to be up there?
Just all the evergreen items right now. We don't have a May merch release today, but hopefully Monday. Should by Monday. Luke, we got to talk after the show, but by Monday, if not next Friday. Either way, coming soon, May stuff. But for now, you can get all the classics.
All right, we're going to rank that card after the top 5 topics, as well as some fan subs. So without further ado, let's get this party started if we can. We'll start with the biggest one for our audience, which, of course, is going to be UFC Perth. The UFC is back in Australia with a fight night. Now, these on-the-road fight nights we've talked about on Morning Combat, to me, this is the part of the UFC product that, in general, tends to be working the best. And I don't think this is any exception. We'll talk about some of the other parts of the card that are not that great, but at the very crown jewel end of it, this fight is phenomenal. Jack Della Maddalena returns to action after the most devastating loss, frankly, of his career, when he obviously lost a 5-round decision to Islam Makhachev. He's back against the surging, I'm going to say that, Carlos Prates, who obviously lost to Ian Gary, but has rebounded in a pretty big way. All right, so let's start this here, Jimmy. A loss here, I think, would be devastating to either fighter, but let's focus on what a win would mean. But beyond what it does for title chances, which I think obviously is going to be in contention, certainly for Carlos Prates, what would the victor here prove by getting their hand raised? Like, what broader questions can they answer with a victory?
Well, what both the guys have working for them is just what we talked about, Naoya Inoue. They're an aesthetic kind of fighter. They have a style where it's easy for the UFC, it's easy for the fans to get behind this person. You don't have to convince somebody the way Bilal Muhammad had to convince everybody for years and years and years that he was a great fighter, didn't have an aesthetic style. Both guys have that. So when I look at a fight like this, I go, whoever wins is probably going to win in dominant fashion. It's probably going to win by knockout. It's probably going to have a highlight reel. Is going to have the kind of finish people are going to be talking about all week. Where does it put them? Right in the running. 170. The difficulty right now with 170 pounds is you have a dominant champion who is incredibly well-rounded, a lot of ground skills. It's not hard to kind of slide into that spot, right? It's not hard to make yourself the next contender. So it's going to be hard to get past Islam Makhachev. And I don't think anybody right now, either one of these guys, even no matter how dominant they look, Islam Makhachev is just a different kind of animal. You're not going to sell yourself as, oh, I'm the guy who's going to beat Islam, but I'm the guy who should be next. I think is an easy argument to make for either guy. Also, Jack Della Maddalena, you talk about the road value of a guy like that in Australia. My first card I ever called for the UFC was in Perth. A lot of Australian fighters there. And they come out for their guys. And having that behind you is absolutely huge. It wouldn't surprise me at all, given the nature of both fighters. The winners in line for a title shot might have to wait a little bit for it, but they're in that position to be right there. But I really believe Jack Della Maddalena has a lot more to lose, but we can discuss that whenever you want.
Okay, so let's start actually with Carlos Prates. And to do that, we're going to bring in our friends from Cuervo. We love Cuervo here at Morning Kombat. This is what we're mixing up, presented by Cuervo for every round. Keep it fun, keep it Cuervo. Jimmy, I want to start with Carlos Prates. I want to play you an interview clip he did with former host here, Brian Campbell, claiming he's just not going to wrestle Jack Della Maddalena. Then I'm going to have a question. I'll pitch that to you. Let's take a look at that here.
Do you think it's the type of fight that will be on the feet for the majority of it, or could you see either fighter shooting and bringing this fight to the ground?
On my side, no. I'm not planning takedowns. I'm not planning to hug somebody. I'm just planning violence, just playing punch, kicks, and yeah, that's it.
How do you defeat Jack Della Maddalena this weekend?
I will knock him out.
Here's my question for you, Jimmy. Mitch Ramirez, Prates knocked him out. Trevin Giles, Prates knocked him out. Radke, Prates knocked him out. The Leech, Prates knocked him out. Neil Magny, Prates knocked him out. Jeff Neal, Prates knocked him out. Leon Edwards, Prates knocked him out. Those are all of his UFC wins. The one loss would be to Ian Gary, who we know has stout defense. Here's my question. Where does Carlos Prates rank all-time welterweight punchers?
Wow, that is a very, very good question. Right now, I'm looking at a guy who potentially on the way up. You see the heavy-handedness of him. And when I say about this, when I talk about heavy-handed, my example for all time is George Foreman about heavy-handedness. Why? He didn't need to hit you super clean to take you out. He could hit you with a punch that was ugly. It looked like he'd never learned how to throw a punch in his life, and it could still knock you out. Prates has that kind of power where when people talk about the heavy-handedness of Conor McGregor, I go, I don't think Conor's that heavy-handed. He's precise with his punches. He knows exactly how to place it. His range, his timing are very, very good. Prates is one of those guys who doesn't have to hit you with the cleanest shot in the world. You see guys wear down from the power. You see guys partially block punches and still get hurt. He's incredibly naturally powerful. Now, you have to do that at the elite level. Has he fought some great names? Of course, a former champion, Leon Edwards. They're there. You have to do that. For example, the way Robbie Lawler did it, which was at the elite level, defending his title, he was knocking guys out. That is real heavy-handedness to me. A lot of fighters have a very high knockout ratio on the way up, right? A Neil Magny, tough guy, but at the end of his run, things like that. You have to do it at the elite level consistently for me to put you all time on that list. Does he have the potential to be there? Yes, I certainly see the physical gifts. I see guys get knocked out by something that isn't necessarily as precise as it could be, and it's still knocking guys out. That's natural power. He's got it. Has to do it at the elite level consistently to be number one.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to rank to rank below Prates, pre-USADA Hendricks, or even just generally Robbie Lawler, who has sent guys to devastating shadow realms on more than one occasion, to your point, including in some bouts of pretty significant consequence. But dude, obviously he is. I mean, this kind of a run and the names he's putting through, to your point, now we're getting to the real meat and potatoes of this division. But the other names he's beaten, including Leon Edwards, I know he's on a bit of a slide, but nevertheless, still a quality win to have. And to your point about the mechanics of it all, this is why I was kind of a little late to the Carlos Prates party. I mean, he was obviously good and fun and, cool. He smokes a cigarette. Like, you love his vibe. And by the way, should be noted, a Brazilian, I'm not one of these fans who's like, oh, they got to speak English. But it also just like the evidence is pretty clear that if they do, it's a lot easier for them to often make a connection with, English speaking fans. But the point I want to make was he reminds me, to your point, got a little bit of that Deontay Wilder in him. Where, like, for example, Wilder hit Luis Ortiz, I think, in their rematch, if memory serves, and he had barely even extended his arm, and Ortiz just crumbled to the mat. Like, he didn't even hit him at the end of the punch. You know what I mean? Prates, he covers distance well, but to your point, it doesn't even need to be super clean. At the end of that thing, it's a whip, man.
Have you seen recently, I know you saw it probably at the time, when Michael Moore got knocked out by George Foreman, that right hand was like
yes, it just almost just touched him. Yes.
He didn't turn his hips. He didn't roll his shoulder. He didn't do any of the things you learn to do when you punch. He literally went bang, and it went boom and knocked a 26-year-old heavyweight champion out. It's that ability. People say, oh, so-and-so is this. I remember Sugar Ray Leonard talking about Roberto Duran, Manos de Piedra. He said, he hit me on my arm, it hurt. It hurt me on my elbow, it hurt. It hurt my hand when I blocked his punches. That's heavy-handedness. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you feel it. If you've ever fought, and which I unfortunately have, sparred in Thailand, everything they hit you with hurts. It's just like getting hit with a bag of rocks, even if they're not, turning over a beautiful punch, even if they're not knocking you out, everything freaking hurts. And Prates is one of those guys. He's just got iron limbs.
All right, but let's talk about some of the weaknesses he might have. I think his grappling defense is a little bit better than folks maybe sometimes consider. There's that famous GIF, by the way, of Leon Edwards getting his back and punching him in the face, and he has that sort of like nonplussed look on his face, and he ends up obviously knocking out Leon in that fight. But he did lose to Ian Gary. You look through that fight, Gary got 4 takedowns, I think, in the third, 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth, something like that, but was obviously on the back foot, nevertheless was able to kind of touch and go. Now, I don't think Gary, Jimmy, is a whole lot like JDM, but I guess if I were to ask you, like, if you could tell me like defensive lessons or some broader pictures of some of the holes that showed up in that Ian Gary loss, what would stand out to you?
Control of range, 100%. People ask me, how is GSP, who never wrestled D1, never made an Olympic team, why was he such a good MMA wrestler? He controlled range so well that to get in, you got to take risks. When you take risks, he takes you down. When you keep a guy outside where he's unfamiliar and doesn't want to be, he's going to have to get in somehow. And unless he's great at it and overcomes your range control, he's going to take a risk. He's going to bring himself into a place where you can take him down. And if you look at the Ian Machado-Gary fight, that's exactly what he did to Prates. Kept him outside, kept him rangy, kept him guessing with the feet, the teeps, the long footwork. Then it's, all right, as they come in and try to overcome that range disparity, they walk right into a takedown. Once again, Ian Machado-Gary, not a D1 guy. I don't have a great takedown by MMA standards, but if I control the range on the outside, either with an active jab or an active lead foot, I'm going to make you take a risk at some point and get in. You're going to make a mistake. And yes, Jack Della Maddalena doesn't quite have the range control ability of Ian Machado-Gary, doesn't have footwork, doesn't quite move like him. He is, or certainly can be, I think, a little bit more powerful. He turns over his punches a little bit better. It's that outside range control and stinging a guy when he comes in that'll make him desperate and set up that takedown opportunity. It's not about the takedown itself. It's about what's happening to me on the outside that makes me do that makes it work. And I think Jack Della Maddalena, despite not really having that footwork or that range, can change his game plan enough to make that happen. It is a possibility.
Let's talk about JDM here for a second, the other half of this equation, and then we'll talk about how they two intersect and what we think are some important things to look ahead to in that bout. But just for JDM specifically in this moment, coming off of that loss to Islam Makhachev. Now, Jimmy, we both know, obviously, you're fighting Islam Makhachev. Hello, he's probably almost certainly the very best guy in the world, irrespective of weight class at this. It's not like losing to him is some kind of mark of shame. But nevertheless, the problem was, as you recall, he just got housed. Like, he didn't even show up in that fight. It seemed almost relatively easy, frankly, for a guy like Islam, who was bumping up in weight at that time. It was supposed to be his first title defense. He failed miserably. And I remember towards the end of that fight, do you remember, like, Islam, I think, was trying to keep him pinned, and he was trying to, like, belly out or turn to his side. And he had this incredibly pained look on his face, which seemed both like orthopedically it was hurting, but also just how frustrating it was to be trapped under Islam Makhachev. Where do you think he is competitively trying to get back to this? Because he has to know it's one thing to lose your title, that's really bad. But if you can rebound, hey, man, you're actually never that far away. But to lose to another guy back to back like this, especially if he gets finished, it has to be devastating. Give me a sense of what you think where he is mentally.
To me, that's this whole fight. It's not about the physics, it's not about the tactics, it's not about the physicality of either guy. It's about where Jack Della Maddalena is mentally. I always say bad coaching sounds like cheerleading, right? If it's what your mom would say in that situation, it's bad coaching. You can do it, champ. Get up there and get it. You've got this. Hey, don't tell me that. Tell me what I can do tactically to not fall for this over and over. The same thing for a fighter. If it's just a matter of will, if it's a matter of I need to get out there and do my thing, I need to mentally get back in the fight. And once you lose that championship mentality, it's very hard to get back because you're seen as that guy forever. The hardest label in sports, not just combat sports, to lose is choker, right? Well, under the big lights, you're going to choke. In a big time, you're going to choke. When the going really gets rough, you're going to choke. Why? Because when you do well and you succeed, people, well, yeah, it's because he was doing well. Right, yeah, he just hasn't gone through any hardship yet. It's so hard. Once people see that under real hardship and real duress, you kind of mentally quit, which it looked like Jack Della Maddalena did, it's hard to overcome that because people want to see you rise from those occasions. So the difficulty is he's already kind of set a bar of at this point, you're going to have trouble. At this point, you might mentally be out of the fight. Once you set that precedent, God, it's so hard to come back from that. And Maddalena is in a position where he can't lose. Problem a lot of times is when a fighter's in a position they can't lose, they tend to fight tentatively. They tend to go, man, I really can't lose. Losing becomes the negative force rather than winning becomes the positive force. And I think that might be an issue for Jack Della Maddalena. You don't want to go in a fight going, man, I can't lose this. Yeah, you want to be motivated, right? You want to get everything you got. But if you are mentally dragged down by that, man, I really can't lose tonight, it's going to be tough because Prates is an F it guy, right? F it. I'm going out there doing everything I can. I'm having fun. He's on the way up. He's on that rise where it's all free to him. Maddalena might be the veteran guy, and I've seen this a million times, who can't lose and therefore end up fighting tentatively, ended up fighting without enough passion, and he cannot afford that. But mentally, where is he? Only he knows that. Only his coaches know that.
Okay, but like let me interrogate that a little bit about his underperformance against Islam, because I actually think understanding why he underperformed is key to understanding how he will perform in the future. You mentioned the choking part, and let me play devil's advocate here, or at least partly halfway devil's advocate, which is how do you personally disentangle the difference between, well, okay, he choked in this fight, and you could potentially cite some examples, versus, dude, he fought the fucking best guy in the world. Like, you're just going to look bad in a lot of ways when you go up against that kind of a threat. If I may, part of the reason why I think the choking is not the full explanation, but certainly part of it, is just that, like, the down blocking that he showed against Gilbert Burns. I recognize Islam and Gilbert Burns are probably pretty far apart at this point, but Gilbert is not some like shitty fighter. He's not some scrub. And the way in which he was able to, not the Gilbert Burns fight, the Bilal fight. In the Bilal, so he actually didn't show great down blocking in the Gilbert Burns fight, but did against Bilal, and then somehow lost it again against Islam. To me, it felt like he was a little nervous about what Islam was trying to do. And so in that sense, the big show, the big opponent, and yes, the considerable threat that they pose kind of made him not exactly lose focus, but so tentative to the point where even then he wasn't able to marshal the kind of relaxed but important reactive defense that he needed. So how do you disentangle the guy was just really good versus you could have done a lot better?
Two examples I will give you immediately. Patricio Pitbull versus Daniel Strauss. Their rematch. I called that in Bellator. Daniel Strauss was housing Pitbull first 3 rounds, I want to say, or had a lead going into round 5. Every time there were round breaks, we'd go to commercial. So I'm just sitting there looking at Patricio Pitbull. He's right across from me. And I saw someone who went, I'm going to win this fight. I am not kidding when I say Patricio Pitbull looked at Daniel Strauss after every single round, after getting beat up the whole round, whatever, looked right at him with, I am going to win in his eyes. And guess what? Came back and beat him. I think it was round 4 or 5, submitted him in a fight that he was hands down losing. Bubba Jenkins, my broadcast partner tonight on Game Bread, NCAA champion for Arizona State. He was wrestling at Penn State, and he kept losing. He said, I lost 6 times to Brent Metcalf, great wrestler at Iowa. And he said, I fought him in the NCAA finals. He beat me, whatever. He said, I lost to Brent Metcalf 6 times. Every single time I thought I was going to win. And I went, that's a champion's mentality. If you beat me 9, that 10th time, I'm going to beat you. And it isn't so much, and you're totally right about tactically the way things went wrong. What I look at is every round, I felt like his corner was going, come on, you can do this, rather than, hey, tactically change this. And he's not finishing you. He's winning rounds. He's not finishing you. He didn't do that much damage. You're not beat up. I'm not worried about stopping this fight. Every round, you need to mentally go, I am going to win this fight. Last round is last round. And that bothered me more than everything you're saying tactically, which is true. But I go, I can't disentangle the mental side of he looked beaten at the end of every round when someone who's been a champion should be able to go, hey, that was round 1, wipe that aside. I'm going to win this next round. And that kind of bothered me more than anything tactically he did or didn't do. I've seen fighters get beat physically and mentally they're still there. And I didn't see that in Jack Della Maddalena in the Makhachev fight. And to me, that's the part that's most important. Yeah.
I think that's an astute observation. Okay, so then give me the fault lines in this fight. So here's what I mean by that for the folks who might be listening. When I think of fault lines in a fight, I think of where are the different ways, or in what ways could there be a deciding factor? So for example, who is leading in this fight? If Carlos Prates is the one pressing, which I do think is at least something that is going to be a likely scenario, does JDM have the ability to fight off the back foot? Ian Gary, for example, it turns out does. It's not super fun because it's kind of a touch and go, but he can do it. He's got fleet footwork. He's quick. He's agile. It works. JDM, I don't think has bad footwork, Jimmy, but he's a little bit heavier in how he sits. If he's getting pressed, to what extent does that matter? Or another one is, what about the takedown? Craig Jones was still in this camp for JDM. And I don't think Carlos Prates has terrible takedown defense by any stretch, but I don't know if it's necessarily his strong suit. So where are the places where this fight, in either direction really, could be won and lost? What are the decisive battle lines in this contest?
Who is respected at the end of round 1? If Jack Della Maddalena can hit him with something, go, you come after me, you're going to pay, right? Number 1 is, if you come after me, I'm going to hurt you. And if you can make a guy like Prates go, okay, that sucked, that stung, can he get his respect for the end of round 1? Can he use his feet effectively, not just fighting off the back foot, but controlling range with things like teeps and kicks and his outside game? Can he control range, and can he make Carlos Prates pay for coming in? Those are 2 things that are very, very vital to me. What you always want if you're Carlos Prates' team, right? If I'm coaching him going into this, I said, swing big early. Don't be stupid. Don't run into something. But whenever someone's coming off a mental defeat, something where they had trouble, as we just discussed, with their mentality throughout an entire 5-round fight, you want to remind them immediately of that feeling. You want them to go, here we go again. Here, boom, hit him, make him think, here we go again. Get him on his bike, get him into that defeatist mentality very, very early. So on Prates' side, you want to swing, not even necessarily, but swing something big, remind your opponent about the defeat last time in a mental way. If you are Jack Della Maddalena, it's about controlling range, and when Prates steps in, you do not step back. You are not necessarily a back foot kind of fighter, but step in and make him pay for coming at you. Get that respect early, because he doesn't have it. To your point, Prates, I think, walks him down.
Yeah, I definitely think Prates is going to walk him down. I'm curious to see how the leg kicks affect. One of the things that Kieran out of CSA Gym, the trainer there, he's real big on not never doing it, but being very careful about trying to leg kick someone as they're stepping into you and you're already backed up pretty close to the fence, because this is how you can get, very easily countered. The heavy-handedness of Prates. It's interesting. This is one of those contests, Jimmy, where I feel like actually JDM might have more ways to win, or certainly a more well-rounded skill set. That's a little debatable, but I guess we'll see. But some reason to believe that. But the danger of Prates to me seems significantly higher. I think we're going to see his chin tested as well. Do you want to hazard a prediction for us here?
I would go right now. In situations like this, you almost always go against somebody like Jack Della Maddalena, a former champion in a very tough fight against a really hard puncher in a fight where he was mentally tested last time out. And to a lot of people, didn't pass that mental test. That comeback is extremely difficult. One of the things I always bet against is if a fighter comes up and gets a title shot and they weren't as tested as we thought they were, and they get beat in a one-sided fight, they almost always lose their next fight. It's man, I guess I'm not on this level. It is what it is. Now, former champions tend to have a bit more resilience, but I think this is one of those trap fights that is going to be very, very difficult for Jack Della Maddalena mentally, physically. He's taking on a dangerous guy who can hurt you from a lot of different angles. So I got to go with Prates. If you're going to go with Prates, you got to go by knockout. I know that can be a little harsh, but he's a tough fighter, very, very strong. I got to go with Prates by knockout on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Prates. I don't know if he wins by stoppage, but I'll take him too. Last thing on this. Let's say he does win by stoppage, and let's say it's inside the first, this would be a wildly best case scenario, I think, for Prates. Somewhere inside the first or second round, right? No later than the second round. Right. Does he leapfrog Ian Gary for a title shot against Islam? In that particular scenario?
Probably, I would say that. I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, the UFC can be real mercurial about these kind of things. You never quite know. Machado Gary, skill set wise, I think he's an extremely dangerous fight, simply because tactically he's a guy who can keep a range against Islam Makhachev. But Prates is the kind of guy that's going to step in and try and hurt him, which might be aesthetically more interesting to a lot of fans. He certainly could, and the way the UFC thinks about these kinds of things in these situations, I wish I could predict it, and I can't. You never know exactly which way they're going to go, but it's usually who did the most stunning thing last, and that would be Prates right now.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I tend to think that they won't skip Gary unless it's just a wildly amazing KO or something.
Yeah,
but
first 2 rounds would be pretty sweet. Yeah,
but I mean,
in Australia, silence in that crowd, that'd be a big moment.
It'd be crazy. It'd be crazy. So I guess we'll see how that goes. In any event, there you have it, folks. This is what we're mixing up, presented by Cuervo for every round. Keep it fun. Keep it Cuervo. And as you can see here, I have the Jose Cuervo Especial Gold Edition. We'll be having some of this when we get to the studio next week for our pregame preview to get you ready for UFC 328. Big thanks, to our friends at Cuervo. No doubt about it. Let's keep it going here. By the way, I don't know if you saw this, Jimmy. We have this Prates daughter face-off with Jack. Have you seen this?
Let me see it. I heard about it. I didn't see it.
Okay, let's take a look.
Skylar. He's the bad guy. He's the bad guy. Good guy. He's the bad guy.
Bro, I gotta tell you,
face off back, dude. You can't let some kid mean mug you, and you don't mean mug him back. I
have to tell you, it's nice to have two guys who seem like reasonably nice people. Dude, yeah. I love Carlos Prates. I love the fact that he fucking smokes. I love the fact that he, seems like a chill dude. As I mentioned before, he's efforted in his English, which I think is going to pay dividends if he gets a big win here, certainly. Like, Carlos Prates is, I'm not saying JDM isn't, but something about Carlos Prates makes him very easy to like.
Yes. Both very likable guys. And I have always kind of disagreed with the, you need to be an a-hole to be a champion and have people like you. The top fighters I ever saw were usually outside of the octagon pretty reasonable, nice people. We tend to remember the trash talkers a little bit more, but it's this idea that, my all-time great list doesn't have any great talkers on it, right? If you look at GSP, Khabib, Anderson Silva, John Jones got in trouble a lot, but not, not a likable guy, but also not necessarily the most trash talking guy on earth. I just don't see that being a necessity. Watching two guys who are nice to one another, I've seen guys who are nice to one another get in there and kill each other. It doesn't necessarily translate to a fight where they're standing off. And also, two guys who hate each other, I've seen had bad fights. I've seen it all. Yeah.
How about Manel Kopp and Muhammad Mukayev? These guys were killing each other in the hotel, and then it was a Meta Morris match in the fucking cage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk now about this co-main event, which I actually really kind of like. All right, here we go. Beneil Dariush, who's going to be 37, I think, in 2 days, maybe 3 days, something like that, taking on Quillen Salkeld. The big issue here, obviously, is, well, just how good is Salkeld? 26 years of age. He's certainly on a freaking heater. Obviously, he gets to the UFC. He beats Nasrat Haqparast. Actually, before that, he had won a couple of times against some donks who were not particularly good. But then the Haqparast one was an incredible win. And then he followed it up by just handing Jamie Malarkey his fucking papers as well at UFC 325 just at the beginning of, or the end of January, I should say, the beginning of 2026. Beneil Dariush, a guy who came with a great pedigree from sport jiu-jitsu, heavy-handed, certainly reckless in certain ways, pretty talented, has some losses against some greater names, kind of at the end of the run. I get what's happening here, Jimmy. They're trying to see, hey, is this Australian kid actually worth something? And if he is, let's have him sort of take the aura from these older names in the fight game, a standard practice among promoters. My question is not that. Yeah. My question is, are you a believer in Quillen Salkeld generally and then specifically in this contest?
Generally, I am in this contest. Problem is, like, it breaks my heart to talk about Beneil Dariush. He was one of those guys who was right there. He just took on anybody, anywhere in a meat grinder at 55. He was incredibly talented, but just was never going to get his due, never going to get a title shot unless he forced the UFC to do that, unless he was, undeniable. And unfortunately, every time it was undeniable and he was right there, obviously losing to Charles Oliveira, the Saryukin loss, losing to Benoit Saint-Denis, he's on the back nine of his career. And it's almost like kind of like waiting to get served with divorce papers. You and your wife are arguing every day. It's the end. How long can I hang on? And with Beneil Dariush's work ethic and his discipline and his ability to get in there and really put in hard work in camp, so I've heard from a lot of people, can you do that when you know the title shot's never going to happen? Can you do it when you know this is where I'm going to be, which is, even if I get past this young, tough guy, there's another tough young guy after that? The hardest question to answer about yourself, and not even just in combat sports or sports in general, how far can I go with this, whatever it is, with this career, with this, this sport, with this hobby? And it's so hard to get that question answered, which is, you can go this far. This is how far. I'm a good basketball player. I'm never going to play in the NBA. I'm a good whatever. I'm never going to get here. And carrying on after you get that answer is extremely difficult. And Beneil Dariush, for all his talent and all his ability, and as you said, his age and all the years he spent in the sport, will never get a title shot in the UFC, period, end of sentence. So to find a way to keep plugging on when, as I said, you get past this young guy, there's another young guy until you can't do it anymore. You know how this is going to end. I don't know if he has the energy to keep doing that, right? This might be the end of the end for Beneil Dariush, which once again sucks because I really like the guy and he's always been a great fighter.
Yeah, and to your point also that we talked about previously, also a very nice guy.
Great guy. Yeah.
Super, like a real gent. How washed is Beneil? Here's why I asked this. Obviously, he lost in 16 freaking seconds to BSD in his last outing, which was in November of 2025. But the one before that, he kind of handled Hanato Moicano, who's not a bad fighter. Again, not a champion level, but not a fucking scrub by any stretch of the imagination. And he looked pretty good here. Is the question about the durability of Dariush? Because, I mean, you go back and all the way to the Edson Barboza loss, he got viciously fucking KO'd in that one, and there's been some other ones now, Saryukin one among some other ones along the way. 37 years of age, basically. Like, to me, it's less a skill issue, although he can be wild and reckless, and more a function of just the durability after a long fucking career against basically nothing but hammers the entire way through.
Look, I know you're from DC, so you're not a football fan. But let me explain to you. Let me explain to you real quick. Usually,
did you go 9-8 the last 17 seasons? How was that?
Usually, as a player in the NFL, which is a league, by the way, that there's a team from DC in it, whatever, I don't want to talk about it. And my point is, You get a season. You get a season of this player isn't the same. Peyton Manning wasn't the same as last season. The whole season, it was, obviously still had enough to win a Super Bowl, but had a great team around him. All right, my case, Ben Roethlisberger. You saw that last season that he wasn't Ben anymore. In MMA, it's a cliff. In combat sports, it's a cliff. Roy Jones Jr. just wasn't Roy Jones Jr. anymore. Bang. All of a sudden, off a cliff. And the problem is that Beneil Dariush is set up right for that. As you said, it's not just losing, but losing in dramatic fashion. You cannot go through that over and over again. And 3 out of your last 4 at his age, the durability is just gone. It's not there. You can get knocked down and knocked out with a jab. And so do I know if he's there? No, I don't, but no one does, right? It's the cliff is right there. It's a matter of when it happens. And this weekend's fight is just as likely to be the cliff as any other fight. So I won't throw any more football metaphors at you because I don't want to depress you, but hey, look, I remember, was it 1991, 92? Super Bowl win. I remember the Hogs. I remember it. Okay, we're roughly the same age, so don't be like that. I'm just saying I don't want to use too many NFL metaphors and lose you. Go ahead.
I will make you defend the horrible person that is Ben Roethlisberger. Also, I'm going to let this slide because Mike Tomlin went to William & Mary. So, I do like Mike Tomlin, although I realize he's gone now, but, enjoy Aaron Rodgers. Quillen Saul killed.
Yeah.
Biggest thing that you like about him, biggest question you still have.
Ooh, I like this. The biggest question I have, certain fighters are beaten by the moment. Others are beaten by their opponent. This is a guy who so far has done a very good job at not getting beaten by the moment. So Nasrat Haqparast, Jamie Mullarkey's a tough guy as well. Got to remember that. I like the Nasrat Haqparast win. That really put him on my radar. He hasn't given in to the moment. He hasn't given in to suddenly being on the co-main, suddenly taking on a guy with a much bigger name. I think mentally, he's in the right place. So the question I don't have is I think he's ready for this step up against this kind of opponent who is on the downside of his career. I haven't seen him overcome a whole lot of adversity. One of the things that you want to see in a guy like this is, okay, how's he done when things haven't gone his way? We haven't seen that at all. And one thing, if you are Beneil Dariush, is he's just solid when he's on his game and doing really well. He's solid. His ground game is very good. His hip pressure is very good. You talk about the Renato Moicano fight where he was able to kind of control him pretty easily. That round 1 where things don't go his way and he goes back to the corner and goes, man, I didn't realize veteran guys have a way of controlling pace. They control space. They control pressure. And Beneil Dariush, good at all of those things. And so when I look at it and I think about it, all right, how are you going to be walking back to your corner going, man, this isn't going well at all? How does he handle that? That's my question. And that's not going to get answered if he just goes out there and wrecks Beneil Dariush. If Beneil can make this a ground game, it's about the mental fortitude of a guy who hasn't been pushed very often. So that's got to be my question for him.
Yeah, I would share a great degree of that sentiment. I think for me, this is going to be a test of Saul Kild's ability to mix together his game well. He's gotten fights where he's gotten like 8 or 9 takedowns on guys. That's probably not going to be Dariush, but like both defensive grappling, you're going to have to threaten Dariush a little bit. You're going to have to pressure him a little bit. You're going to have to use superior kickboxing a little bit. You're going to have to use ring craft a little bit, right? It's like the all-around kind of a thing. If you're Arman Tsarukyan, you can just explode with overhands and maybe catch a guy. Maybe Saul Kill will do that too, Jimmy. But I think to me, the question for him here is, you probably have a little less than what Arman's got. So you have to use a little more smarts to advance your interests. We'll see if he can do that. Put the fight card back up one more time, Long Island. So this is the rest of the card. I don't even want to talk about the bottom of this fucking card, but very quickly on Tim Elliott and Urseg, where are you on each of them? Elliott has had a surprising he's still a little up and down, but very viable at this late stage of his career. And Urseg kind of came out, got pushed a little early and then really fell apart in that 5th round against Pantoja, then suffered a lot thereafter, has kind of wrestled himself back to a better position. How are you evaluating their stock as they intersect here in Perth?
Well, to me, Urseg, up until that 5th round, I thought he was doing well against Pantoja, and Pantoja is absolutely lights out, outstanding, one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world at 125. And then after that, it was just no gimmies at all, right? You go to Kai Kara France, and it's Brandon Moreno. Like, 3 very tough fights. Tim Elliott hasn't shown me, although came back last time with a guillotine, in a fight that he was losing leading up to that guillotine. It's 2 guys who had, I think, opposite ceilings. I think the ceiling on Erceg was a lot higher, but Elliott, being the veteran guy, can make you pay for a mistake. But as long as Erceg, I think, fights smart, I think it's his to lose. Let me put it that way. Elliott is one of those guys that, as a veteran guy, he's always going to be mentally in it. He's always going to find your bad positioning. And that's what we did last time against Asakura. And Asakura is another guy who came in from Ryzen, from Japan. First fight's Pantoja, right? So he didn't get any softballs either. So it's this idea of, can you right the ship? I believe Erceg can. I've seen the talent. I've seen the ability. I think he needs to be a little bit more careful. I think you understand that he's not going to be able to kind of out physical everyone he fights. He's going to have to be able to take his time and have a good game plan. Elliott's going to test that game plan. It's Erceg's to lose, in my opinion.
Long Island, you believe that the betting odds on this fight between Elliott and Erceg they've moved a lot. What's happened?
I don't know. So Monday, I took Tim Elliott at plus 350. Steve Erceg was minus 455. It was hovering around that up until about Wednesday. It's slowly been dropping. I think it's just people putting money on Tim. I mean, obviously it's people putting money on Tim Elliott, but I think maybe just the crowd getting behind, ooh, these lines are off. But dude, it's down. He's plus 145 right now. And like each time I refresh it, before we went live, he was like plus 165. So he's gone down like 20 points since we've been live.
Jesus.
They're getting closer and closer. Again, I actually think where they are right now is like where they should be.
Did he look like shit on the scales or something?
Well, maybe Steve Erceg did, but I don't think so. They both made weight. Erceg actually came in under he was 125 and a half. So he came in a half a pound under the limit. So I don't know, dude, but wouldn't be shocked if the fight gets pulled. Fingers crossed, though, that it's just normal betting activity, people hopping on Tim Elliott.
That's a weird one. I don't know what to say about that. That's kind of strange. One more time, put that card up if you can, Long Island. I mean, I don't know what else. I mean,
Tai Tuivasa, what?
Dude, Tuivasa 0 and fucking 6 in his last 6.
That I wanted to be better than he was. Do you guys get what I mean? I wanted Ty to, come on, Ty, you're so fun. You're so entertaining. You're great. I love his personality. He's a fun dude.
Yeah.
He seemed like what he was, which is just like a hard-hitting heavyweight. And as soon as he gets exposed, he's never going to be able to come back because his toolkit just doesn't really have those tools in it. And unfortunately, I was dead right. It's like, do you know what I'm saying? Those fighters are like, God, I wish you were better than you were. I want to see you stick around because I like you so much.
Bro, and like also MMA has a long tradition of really talented fat guys. Yeah. And like Roy Nelson was a big old dude, but he was a jiu-jitsu black belt and was very heavy-handed and made that work to pretty great effect. He had his career was much better as a consequence of these abilities. Tuivasa got none of that. I mean, he can hit hard, obviously, but what the fuck are we doing, bro?
Get in line, you hit hard. You're a heavyweight. You're supposed to hit hard.
I know.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, really, you're a giant.
I don't even know what to say about that shit.
Weird wins at weird times, and just when you thought he was done, he would just crush some dude and walk away, right? Get the walk away knockout. And you were hoping Tai Tuivasa could pull enough of those to stay relevant in a division that sucks. I mean, the heavyweight division right now in the UFC, just the nature of it, it's in a low spot, and everybody goes, "Oh, it's the worst it's ever been." You do not remember Justin Eilers getting a heavyweight title shot. Paul Buentello getting a heavyweight. I've seen worse, but it's not a good era right now for heavyweights.
Paul Buentello was another. Paul Buentello was a good fat guy for. Paul Buentello was a good guy for fat guy for hand speed.
Thanks with the old people crickets. I appreciate that. Go ahead. Yes.
I like Paul Buentello because you don't fear him, motherfucker. You fear the consequences. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Long Island, what the hell else on this card? As Gerald Mearshart, Jacob Malkoon's all right, but Mearshart missed weight. I don't know why he missed weight. That was a weird one.
Missed weight by a lot, too. 4 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, Cody Steele's on this one on the opener against Don Marfan. Okay, all right. It's some stuff going on there, but yeah, man, what is this fucking card?
This is an Australian pay-per-view. I challenge everyone to look back, maybe not at 325, but 312, I think it was. Look back at 312 and look at this card. All the same fighters are fighting on it. It's literally the same pay-per-view.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's whatever. But the top of the card is great.
Seats. Butts and seats.
The top of the card is great. All right, so that is topic number 1. We're going to get to the PFL and everything else in a moment. Let's go to topic number 2 here, which is that the UFC set up a media scrum for UFC 328 headliner Sean Strickland in Las Vegas earlier this week. Now, in fact, yesterday they also did one for Khamzat Chimaev where he responded. And he vowed to shoot his opponent if threatened physically, Jimmy, in person, and shoot their team as well. Let me ask you about this. At this stage of MMA's development, how do you view this kind of promotion? It does generate a lot of attention. I think this is not new, right? I mean, not shooting might be somewhat new, but the Sean Strickland kind of fight where you're like, I'm sorry, what did he say? This has now happened multiple times. There is a lot of hand-wringing about it from certainly the older guard. The younger fans don't seem to care. Let's play this clip, and then I want you to react to it.
Like, he'll have his friends with him. You won't have anyone.
All I'm going to do, I'll pull my gun out of my shoe.
Okay, good to know. But do you anticipate any...
But I'll tell you what, but that being said, if Chimaev were to come up to me as a gentleman and say, hey, you know what? You said some things, you insulted my wife. I actually love sheep, it's crazy. Then I would be like, I love goats, dude. You know, goat tastes good. He loves goats. We have that in common. I just don't fuck him. But anyways, if you were to come up to me like a man, say, you know what, Sean, you said some things about my dad, Kuderov. I'm like, well, you know what, dude? You whored yourself out, not me. I want to settle this. I would say, let's settle this like a man. But if you come up to me with 3 fucking go-fucker Chechens that don't speak English, I'm going to pull my gun and I'm going to shoot each and every one of you.
Okay. Your reaction.
Well, first off, and people ask me about this, like, from behind the curtain where I've done commentary for organizations, how do they feel about this kind of stuff? There's a real world outside of the fight world. There's a real world of cops and lawyers and court dates and consequences and jail time. And that doesn't change because you're in the fight world. Assaulting someone on the street is assaulting someone on the street. And the fact that they're fighters and they're yelling at one another and they're fight high, none of that matters to the cops who show up with evidence tape, right? And so this idea of, look, if I'm assaulted by a bunch of guys, I'm going to shoot them. Sure, great. You can say that. And we can all look at it and go, okay, certainly hope that doesn't happen, because then the fight's off. And that's something people forget in a big way. Oh, when I see this guy, it's on site. If you fight in the parking lot, that's assault and battery, and you're going to spend the night in jail and there's no fight. So even this idea of, oh man, it's great hype and I love it and this and that. Yes, but if anything like that happens, there's no fight. And promoters don't make money on a fight that doesn't happen. So how much do they like this talk? Promoters don't mind the talk. They mind when there are real world incidents and consequences that could stop a fight and therefore cost them millions or tens of millions of dollars. And so as a promoter on the promotional side, I would do everything I could to keep these guys away from one another, especially keep their camps away from one another, because that's something people forget. These guys never roll by themselves, to Sean Strickland's point. This guy's going to have a lot of people with him. And a lot of times the fighter understands that a fight needs to happen and we can't jeopardize that. The people around them often do not. Don't get that, hey, if you throw a punch, this isn't a place where someone can cover that up. We are all going to jail, and that sucks, and there's no fight. So is the talk, out of line? Yes. Do fans care about it that much? No. But the real world legal consequences don't change because you are a fighter doing it to fight people. Right? You got to stand in front of a judge and say, I felt my life was in danger, so I killed a bunch of people. Will that work? I don't know. But the point is there'll be a court date and attorneys and bailiffs, and you're not going to be fighting. So people have some kind of idea that if something's between fighters, it's then therefore not real. Okay, as long as it's talk, it's not real. As soon as it becomes real, it is out of the hands of anyone who has anything to do with the fight itself. It was Kimbo Slice and Ken Shamrock. When I was doing their face-off show for Bellator, it was just me standing up there. And I went to Scott Coker and went, hey, you might want to have a little more security up there in case they start fighting. And Scott kind of went, well, if they fight, they fight. And I go, yeah, but that's assault and battery and you won't have a fight tomorrow. I hate to be the one to explain this to you, but we're not in a ring. And if they fight one another and they hurt somebody and someone decides to press charges, both your fighters spend the night in jail. So there's no fight. So, it's everybody forgets there's a real world out there that cannot be altered or messed with. And this encroaches on that big time.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if is in terms of any, now obviously we've all seen, Jones DC or, you name it. In terms of any fight you called in person, what is the baddest blood, so to speak? And this, I know you've called boxing and other stuff too.
Called it all.
What has been the most acrimonious relationship between two fighters that you've seen?
Well, fortunately, I haven't seen a lot of it. There was a fighter, Andreas Spang, if I remember, fighting a guy named Michael Falcao. And that was a middleweight, and it was in...
he ended up getting in trouble with the law, Falcao.
He's dead. He got stabbed to death in Brazil.
Oh, he did?
He started a fight with the wrong dude and got knifed to death.
Fucking hell.
So he was that guy where
Right.
I was like... And then they were about to face off, and Spang pushed him because he got too close to him. And I turned around, and they were about to fight. And Falcao and I had spoken before, and he liked me. He had seen me, fight Quest in Brazil. He's, oh, man, big fan. Whatever. So I knew, all right, if I get in front of him, he probably won't deck me to get to Spang. So I kind of underhooked him, and I had the mic in my right hand, and I went, there's your middleweight, or whatever I did. But I'm just sitting there going, I really hope he doesn't hit me, because we had spoken before, and he liked me. So I was like, I really hope he doesn't hit me, or Spang doesn't hit me in the back of the head. But Falcao was that guy. He had been in legal. He was the guy, if you go back far enough, he started a fight in Brazil that was on camera, and his friend got beaten into like brain damage. I think he's still in a wheelchair, where he messed with the wrong dude, and a bunch of guys showed up and beat his friend almost to death. He was that guy and a street guy. And so once again, stabbed to death in Brazil. So that was one that I was like, these people need to stay far, far, far away from one another. War Machine, obviously, a loose cannon psycho, and found a reason to hate everybody he fought. And there was always this, this guy's not with it, right? He's not all there. I remember one time the elevator opened up, and he was fighting a guy named Anderson. I don't remember his full name. I forget. And anyway, the elevator opens, and War Machine's there, and he's like mad dogging me. War Machine is. And I went, the fuck is wrong with you? And he goes, oh, Vaughn Anderson was the guy's name. And he goes, oh, I thought you were my opponent for a second. I'm like, dude, all right, whatever. I'm not scared. I was like, what the hell's wrong with you? And he's like, oh, I thought you were Vaughn Anderson for a second. I was like, okay, great. And I got on the elevator and went where I was going. But it's more the person rather than the acrimony between two particular guys. It's like Michael Falcao is one of those guys where, it's always the street to him.
But
War Machine was one of those guys that always had a problem. Yeah.
Let me push back on that. I mean, I certainly agree that there's a type in MMA who's just a lot more reckless than the other types.
Yeah.
But like, for example, Khabib doesn't appear to be that kind of a type, but got rage baited, whatever the word would be, into doing what he did against Conor. And so like, we have been around for many, many eras of MMA, you and I, and we have lived through the pre-tough eras, the post-tough eras, the Ultimate Fighter. And that post-tough era is kind of important because there was such a push to MMA to clean up its act, both on the regulatory side, but more so on the presentation side. It was designed to cast a wide net, and it worked. I thought that was I believed in it at that time. And now we're at a place where, like, we got guys literally baiting their opponents by, invoking anti-Muslim stereotypes of like the highest order. It's not that trash talk has never been ugly, but having seen the different eras of MMA, do you feel like this is historically unusual, or are we putting a level of hysteria into it that doesn't need to be there?
No, I think it's definitely gotten worse for sure. And it was, the Brazilian cat got kicked off the Ultimate Fighter for cheap shotting Chael Sonnen, and Dana White said, you make us look like a bunch of animals and we need to be better than this. And you guys, I can't imagine that speech happening today.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine that speech happening today. It's one of those things where the pendulum, as you said, swung a bit, where it was, hey, we want to be mainstream enough to get the mainstream recognition, right? The wide net, get a bunch of fans. Now it's almost the other way, where it's, hey, we're already there. You're not leaving if you're a fan. And if you're not a fan by this point, we're not really that concerned about you. The net has gotten much, much smaller. And I think that's definitely a part of it, where a Sean Strickland kind of being that guy, there's nobody saying, hey, don't do that. Right? There's nobody, I don't think there's any phone call going, hey, I would stop saying that. It's Dana White said publicly that, we don't rein them in. They say whatever they want. They got to pay for it in the octagon. There was a time when that wasn't the attitude. So you can debate and argue about how much is it a reflection on society? Is it a negative impact on society? We can debate that all day, but what you can't get around is it certainly isn't treated the same way it was 15 years ago.
Yeah. I think the only thing I would add to this conversation is, for me, like, I don't even know what the point is if you don't like Strickland's talk of saying anything anymore. I mean, obviously there's always room for voices to express both acclaim and, condemnation on any scenario. So I don't mean in that sense, but what I mean is, like, if you go after Strickland, you're like, hey, I don't like the things he says, you're just going to get dogpiled on social media, obviously, because his army of fans or people who have like-minded views are just going to win the argument in the sense of a volume play of voices. And more to the point, that's not even really the biggest issue. The biggest issue is, it just, to your point, Jimmy, it just doesn't feel like there are any restraining forces anymore in the industry. And so my point is just, I don't know what to say about this anymore, other than, like, this is just what MMA is now. You know what I mean? Like, you have to decide, 100%. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Where am I on this? And that's the only regulating mechanism, is how you approach it, not what is done to change or support or whatever it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And it all comes together. It's like it's all on the same plate, and you got to eat all of it. All you can hope, once again, is this incident that he's describing doesn't happen. Right? All you can hope is that it doesn't get to the point of some kind of conflagration that prevents the fight from happening and is a black eye on the sport. And, I remember being upset watching it live when Khabib jumped over the fence and went after Conor's team, because it was just a huge stage. So many people were watching, and so many people who may or may not know the sport that well were watching, and this is what they're going to think of it. And I worry about that a little less now, because you kind of know what this is or is not, and you're either okay with it or you're not. But I agree, it's all the same plate, and you're like, well, it all comes together whether I like it or not. And it sucks as a fan to have to deal with that, but you do.
Fair enough. That's kind of where I'm at as well. All right, before we go to topic number 3, let's remind everyone, you know how it goes here, folks. We love our friends at Cuervo. And as a reminder, with this Cuervo Especial Gold, we are going to be back in studio May 6th for the pregame preview to get you ready for UFC 328. And if you know, and you watch Morning Combat, we love Cuervo. It's the go-to. It's what we use literally for our programming. That's how much we value it. And Cuervo Especial Gold pairs perfectly with combat sports. Let me tell you why. It's either from face-off to final decision, fight night, as you guys know, it's where all the adrenaline, all the anticipation, all the fun is had. And Cuervo has the energy to match it. Whether you're hosting your crew at home, whether you're at a bar, whether you're at the fights themselves, Cuervo brings the vibes that turn every round into a celebration. And you know what I like? I like margaritas. But if you like palomas, doesn't matter. You can customize it however you want. The point is that every main event tastes better with the world's most iconic tequila. And we're going to be enjoying some of this, as I've indicated, Wednesday, May 6th. Mark your calendars. Back in studio for that UFC 328 pregame preview, sponsored, of course, by our friends at Cuervo. Can't wait. And I'm going to have a margarita on the air because, hello, that's the whole point of the show. And how I like to enjoy myself as we break down the fight. It's going to be a great time, so you're going to have to check that out. But it doesn't really matter who joins me as long as Cuervo is there, because no matter who walks out with the belt, with Cuervo in hand, you're already celebrating like an undisputed champion. For every round, keep it fun, keep it Cuervo, and of course, enjoy, but be responsible. Looking forward to seeing all you donks for the Wednesday, May 6th, UFC 328 pregame preview, brought to you by our friends at Cuervo, and this one, the Especial Gold, next freaking week. Thank you to our big friends at Cuervo. We love them here at MK. All right, with that in mind, Jimmy, let's turn our attention to topic number 3. PFL Sioux Falls is happening. Okay. All right. Before we get to the card, Logan Storley's in the main event against a PFL Europe standout, Florem Zendeli from Albania. I know you've called. I think you called his last fight.
I called the last one, yeah, in Dubai.
Yep. Let me ask a question, and I this is not an attack. This is me thinking out loud and saying, hey, wait a second. I like what PFL is doing this season. Not even this season, this year. I like the change in leadership. I like the change in product. And I think they've had some real W's this year in kind of simplifying the product. I thought the Van Steenis win in Madrid was a home run. Dalton Rossa didn't get the win in Pittsburgh, but it was a good environment. They brought out the fans. Like, to me, they're doing a lot of the right things. But what I would love to see, Jimmy, is them not have to go. I know the UFC is in the morning, but like there's other combat sports going, just finding ways to put themselves in the calendar where they can be the center of attention. Why doesn't that seem to happen more often?
So hard to do. It's so, I have the same question all the time in Bellator. Hey, why do you go on this day and this day and this day? All right. So football season, Thursdays and Sundays don't work. Saturday is UFC. Friday, can be extremely difficult to get fans butts in seats on a Friday. Well, you can get butts in seats, but people don't want to watch TV on Friday. It's really hard to get a day other than Saturday that works. Because once again, football season, Thursday's impossible, Sunday's impossible. Saturday's UFC. Friday, people will go out to a live show. They won't sit there and watch TV. TV ratings are really bad on Friday. Now, obviously, we live in a different world. This world I was in was maybe 10 years ago or so. So those were the problems. And I used to get this, why don't you guys have this day? Why don't you do Tuesday? People don't go to a live show on Tuesday. You can't get anyone to buy a ticket. Oh, why not Friday? Because you can get people to go, but they're not watching it on TV. So the numbers are crappy. Why don't you do it Saturday? There's UFC. What about Sunday? NFL. What about Thursday? NFL. So I remember with Bellator, we had a Thursday night lineup that was Bellator, it was TNA Wrestling, and something else, kind of like this Glory, I think. So it was like a man block. On Thursdays, they had to stop doing it because of the NFL. You can't get young men to watch anything on Thursday but NFL Thursday. So it was always rough. And also, if you are PFL, a lot of times you have to schedule way ahead of time for these venue deals and things like that. The UFC can have a much shorter turnaround with the Apex stuff. And so you don't know if you book Saturday in Sioux Falls on May 2nd and you go, there's UFC that day. Well, we didn't know that when we booked it. The times aren't always the same. You don't do it the week of, you have to do it several months ahead of time. So a lot of times you're throwing a dart at a board, hoping there isn't anything on May 2nd. But the problem is that depending on the venue and when you had to book it, you didn't have a choice. A lot goes into it. And I've heard this criticism a million times, and I've had to run it down that way for a lot of people where, guys, show me a good night where people will come out, people will watch it, and there's nothing going on. You'll never get all three of those. Yeah.
The Australians have a better tradition where it's common for them to have Wednesday fight nights, at least in boxing anyway. I got to tell you, I love that. I remember, I think Stipe Miocic fought I could be getting this wrong, but I believe he fought who was the tall Dutch guy? Stefan Struve. I believe he fought Stefan Struve on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night. I fucking love Wednesday night fights. Awesome. I know your point. The broader market won't speak to it in that way.
The broader market won't take it. Yeah. Tuesday night fights on ESPN.
Dude, those are my fucking favorite. I fucking love those, you know? All right. Neither here nor there. There were some questions about why Logan Storley is getting a headlining role. Now, he's only 33, Jimmy. Here's the full fight card right here. You can see in the upper left-hand corner, that's Logan Storley and then Florem Zendeli. We'll talk about the co-main event with Rabadanov and Chizov here in just a second, although there are some interesting fights on this card. Here's Logan Storley, 33 years of age, 18-4. He got the interim Bellator welterweight title, I think, by beating MVP, if memory serves. And then in Zendelli, you got the 2024 PFL Europe champion who's kind of getting a call up to the big show. An interesting theme on this card, Jimmy, is both in the main and co-main, Zendelli and Chizov, two names that are probably not going to be familiar, even to hardcore MMA fans here stateside. These are guys that kind of succeeded on the second tier PFL event or these PFL Europe events quite substantially in the case of Zendelli. And it seems like, is it fair to say, kind of getting a call up to the big show here? Is that what this is?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Logan Storley, a multiple-time All-American, great wrestler. You talk about the winner for MVP. Lost to Yaroslav Amosov, I want to say twice. I know the first time it was.
Yes, first time was a dog fight. Yes.
Yeah, second time a little bit wider for Yaroslav Amosov. Jason Jackson, I think, beat him. So it's one of those things where he's been right there. 33 years old, wrestling-centric style. He's doing this in South Dakota. He's headlining. He's from South Dakota. So was Brock Lesnar and Lincoln McElravy. So some good wrestlers came out of South Dakota. But Logan Storley, right, we know what he is, right? We know about his takedown. You watch the MVP fight. Oh, that was a tough watch, man. It was like, took him down, held him down. MVP couldn't get up, did get up, took him down again. Just dogged with the takedown. Has the ability, but it's what's always interesting to me. And by the way, a very winnable fight. I call Zendelli's last fight that was in Dubai, and he a lot of times relied on the takedown when the striking wasn't going his way or he needed some top pressure, outside trips, inside trip, clinch stuff, the kind of stuff that's not going to work against Logan Storley. So he's going to have a tough time, I think, against Logan Storley. So he's in the position he is because he's putting butts in seats because that's where he's from. And they're certainly positioning him to do well. He's taken on a guy who doesn't have a great grappling background. So the question to me is, all right, well, then what do you want to do with him? Where PFL puts a guy like Logan Storley says a lot about them as a promotion. What do you do with that guy whose style isn't necessarily that aesthetic, but he can still knock off some good guys who might go somewhere? Now, John Fitch, what do you do with a John Fitch? I remember after he lost to GSP, all right, where do we put this guy that can beat anybody else, but we don't necessarily like a style, doesn't bring a lot to the table in terms of personality. What do we do with this guy? Where Logan Storley goes, that is a huge, huge question for PFL. Now they've gotten rid of the tournament format. Where do you put this guy? I think that's a very interesting question.
Why are they promoting around him?
I don't know either.
Because I know the argument is like, well, we're in South Dakota, of course we would use him, but it's like, okay, but then like, why go to South Dakota? Like, what? Like, yeah. Who else on the roster would you consider to be? I mean, I'm not asking. I'm asking rhetorically, as if I was in front of Jonathan Martin, who I like, by the way. I like that guy.
Right, it wasn't Jason Jackson. It was Thad Jean who beat him last time.
Thad Jean, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Thad Jean. And I don't know. Coming off a loss, this is the kind of guy like, much like Beneil Dariush we're seeing in the Australia cards. Okay, we know where this guy's going to go. He's here. He's not number one. He's not going to get a title opportunity. All right, we're going to feed him to the next guy who's on the way up. I don't see Zendari as that kind of guy. I was with Thad Jean. I got that completely. But all right, why are you trying to rehabilitate or protect, or to borrow a wrestling term, why are you putting money back in this guy's bank if there's nowhere to go with him necessarily? So I'm as confused as you are why they are promoting around him the way they are, unless they have some kind of deal where it's really profitable to go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and then they really put butts in seats and it's a great show for everybody, and you need him for that kind of show. Because that happens sometimes with every MMA promotion is, hey, we do Australia. We need a really good Australian. So make sure this guy's always in our back pockets. We have an Australian to put in on an Australian card, or a Manchester guy, whatever it is. So yeah, I'm as confused as you are about the placement, the opponent. It doesn't make a ton of sense. I think it's a very winnable fight for him. So you must have plans to put him somewhere.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. In that co-main event, Bellator mainstay, PFL tourney champion Gadzi Rabadanov's taking on the Latvian Alexander Chizov. You can see here their tail of the tape, Rabadanov with significantly more experience and at a high level. At that, Chizov looks pretty decent on tape, reasonably heavy-handed, not a terrible fighter by any stretch. I don't know, though, exactly what you would consider, Jimmy, Chizov's advantages over Rabadanov. I candidly do not know what they would be. Again, another scenario where a guy was kind of doing really well on the PFL European circuit and is getting pushed up to a bigger American show.
Well, look at the Conor Hughes fight, which was his last time out. He won that by big knockout. That was impressive. I remember halfway through round one when I watched that fight live, I went, man, Hughes' face is a mess. It was, few left hooks.
And he was bleeding. That's right.
Bad. I mean, halfway through round one, I was like, man, this dude's face is a mess. She's off. And I didn't see punches. I was like, oh, man, that's a good left hand. That was good. Yeah, all right. Oh, my God, his face looks like he got hit by a windmill. And so Chisov just has that ability where he hit, a couple jabs, couple right hands, and you're like, your face is out here. He's just naturally heavy-handed. It led to a big knockout, but even before that, I was impressed by the damage he was doing in a fight that got, if I remember correctly, closer as the fight went on. Hughes had his moments, but I was looking at Chisov. That dude's impressive, man, with his power and his ability to slice a guy up. The problem whenever I see a fight like this is I think Nurmagomedov, PFL champion, is so far above the competition. I think he's so good and he's so tricky. Nobody really fights like that. His leg game is so good. His angles are so good. It's almost like you got to really show me something to make me believe you're going to get a shot against Nurmagomedov and be able to do anything. And Ramadanov, his last time out in the Alfie Davis fight, when you sent me the rundown, I had seen it live and I rewatched it. And I went, man, he lost this fight? I was watching going, I thought Ramadanov was winning. I was like, okay, obviously Alfie Davis had a late surge. I didn't think it was enough to get a decision. But whenever you have a champion as dominant as Nurmagomedov is, and I called his title defense in Dubai against Paul Hughes, who made it very, very tough, I just went, man, nobody really fights like this. So you can have a great run up to Nurmagomedov, and then you just look like crap against him because nobody really fights like that. It's housed Alfie Davis, choked him out. So it's I think it's gonna be a very good fight. I think it's probably fight of the night is this co-main event. But at the end of the day, you got to really show me something to show me that you can beat a guy as good as Nurmagomedov. That dude is great.
What else on this card is of interest to you? Emiliano Sordi out of the Killcliff team, kind of always doing something reasonably interesting.
Magomedov, Leandro Higo. I think that's a really good fight. I like both. They're both really entertaining. Leandro Higo, obviously, I called his fights in Bellator. Magomedov, he fought in PFL Bellator. Just both really good. Both have really good submission games. Leandro Higo is very, very active. I think that's going to be a very, very entertaining fight. So I like that one when I look at the card. That's another one people should keep their eye on. Renan Fajeda he bounced back in a heavyweight division that has a lot of room, to say the least. Obviously a PFL tournament champion back in the tournament days, a PFL champ. So he's always fun to watch. Yeah. Emiliano Sordi is one of those guys who never got his legs underneath him, although really nice guy. Never got his legs underneath him, and Bellator really blossomed in PFL. But I like the Leandro Higo Magomedov fight.
I'm also going to say, kind of strangely, Tyler Santos, I know she got housed by Dakota Ditcheva, but they put her on the prelim card. I don't quite totally get that. I guess tough. We'll see. Long Island, are you betting this card?
I got to be honest, I have not looked into it yet. PFL is weird with bets, dude, where they only really give you like money line bets, and it's kind of hard to find value because there's a lot of heavy favorites and stuff. So I don't love them as much.
This card, by the way, the PFL Sioux Falls card, this is going to be obviously on Saturday. I'm trying to get the start time here, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. start time for that card. So should be a lot of fun. All right, let's turn our attention, if we can here, topic number 4, to what is, in my opinion, the best fight all weekend. Guys,
bam!
I don't know how else to say this. You have a showdown of quite literally historic proportion taking place in Japan. And they're not at, there's, by the way, nothing wrong with the Saitama Super Arena or Ariake Coliseum or anything like that. But they're in the Tokyo Dome for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Naoya Inoue faces Junto Nakatani. Both guys are undefeated. Both guys multi-division champion. Inoue sitting arguably, if not number 1 pound for pound, in that conversation for a guy who could be number 1, but Nakatani hot.
And look at this vicious face-off.
Yeah.
Oh my God, somebody separate them.
The promotion for this fight has been decidedly Japanese, which is to say organized, well-run, and very, very friendly.
Polite.
Yeah, you couldn't tell if they were, showing up as friends on a red carpet versus, a face-off. But okay, Jimmy, let's talk about this. How big is this fight for Japanese boxing? Let's just start there first. Why is this fight so special? Not just for what it means for us today, but like for Japanese boxing generally.
Biggest fight in Japanese history. Boom, bang, done. Biggest boxing match in Japanese history by far. Remember the weight classes there. And also, Japan doesn't get the love in boxing. It doesn't get the love in wrestling. They have a great wrestling team. They have a great boxing team. They don't get the recognition they deserve. And a lot of times, because of the weight classes they are in, and it is a great rivalry, and I love it, is Japan versus Latin American countries, right? Mexico, because the guys are in those weight classes. Japan versus Japan is just something super duper special. And Junto Nakatani is the greatest boxer in Japanese boxing history. Nakatani with the win obviously could take that mantle. So they're historic stakes. There isn't a loss between either one of these guys. Aesthetically, Junto Nakatani is one of those guys where if you are not a fan of boxing, Jimmy, why are you a fan of boxing? I'm going to put on Naoya Inoue's fight. I'm going to put on Naoya Inoue and go, watch this and tell me you're not a fan of boxing. The guy has great footwork, power, explosiveness, precision, timing, great defense. And also the vulnerabilities of this fight make it very, very interesting. Last time out, when you look at how he's gone up in weight class, Naoya Inoue, as he's gone up, Ramon Cardenas hurt him. Luis Neri hurt him. He's dropped him. Yeah, dropped him. Both guys dropped him. And it's that ability to you can't be as aggressive as he is, move up in weight class over and over, and not eat some punches. And as you saw in the if you want to call it a face-off, Nakatani's a big boy. He's a lot bigger than Naoya Inoue. He's a southpaw. Might walk him into some shots, but man, Naoya Inoue has looked damn near perfect. So size-wise, this is the biggest fight in Japanese boxing history. And when you look at this fight, one of the questions I always used to get asked when I was, calling boxing was, hey, can he break through in the United States? I go, he doesn't have to break through in the United States. You sell out the Tokyo Dome, you're going to be fine. You're making plenty of money. You don't have to necessarily break out in the United States. In the international world we live in, where I can watch on social media fights all over the world, you need to conquer the U.S. market the way you used to? Not as much. So as a hometown Japanese, all Japanese showdown, it's the biggest in boxing history for sure.
All right, let's talk about how they match up here. In a way, a dominant puncher, but Nakatani, you look at that Maloney fight, which is arguably knockout of the year, where he stops him in the 12th round. He can punch his ass off too. What would you say, though, are the differences in their ability? You talked about the fact that you can see just visibly on tape. And by the way, that clip doesn't really show it. Like the face-off today, you can really see the difference, both in height and reach as well. Nakatani is a master of maintaining distance. Again, he can punch himself. Right. But what are the stylistic differences when you're looking at them? Are they corresponding to their body type? Is that a good way to understand it?
Yeah, Naoya Inoue comes to you. he's fast. Yeah. He's athletic. Yeah. He comes to you. You have to go find Naoya Inoue. He's coming at you. Nakatani, to your point, better with the range, better at controlling the outside, has real power when you come in. So stylistically, they fight for their build. Now, a big, huge difference here. Sebastian Hernandez, the last guy that Nakatani fought, Nakatani didn't look great. He got the hometown decision. As we know in combat sports, when two guys have a huge showdown coming and they have a tune-up fight, unless they get murdered, they're almost certainly winning that tune-up fight. I thought it was a controversial win. I thought Hernandez-Reyes looked really, really good. Nakatani didn't look great. Maybe, already mentally in the Naoya Inoue fight. Inoue against Picasso looked amazing as always. Fantastic performance from him. So part of the momentum, Nakatani stumbled in the air quotes tune-up fight, getting ready for this one. So that's another thing that I'm a little worried about is he didn't look good last time out. He cannot afford that kind of performance. But tactically, it's Naoya the Monster in a way, and he got the name for a reason. He's aggressive, great footwork, and is right in your face. And Nakatani controls range and lands big punches from the outside. So if Naoya Inoue comes in thinking he can get around that power and his head movement is going to be, which it is, it's going to have to be on point all night because Nakatani has the power to drop you.
Who's had a tougher strength of schedule?
I got to go with Naoya Inoue, especially he's moving up all the time. He's always moving up in weight class. So this is a guy, I mean, if you look at his natural weight, probably 5 pounds under where we are right now, right?
Yeah.
So this guy is constantly moving up. Ramon Cardenas, and I've called Cardenas several of Cardenas' fights when I was with Pro Box TV. That dude can hit. He is world class, great puncher, great fighter, a lot of heart, fights very, very Mexican. And Naoya Inoue, after overcoming, not just getting knocked down, but getting really hurt in that fight, came back and got to finish himself. So he's got guts, he's got power, he's taken on great guys. He's been the center of the Japanese boxing universe for how many years? And yet he's worn it well. TJ Doheny, very, very tough. Stephen Fulton, who did great stuff since then. Nonito Donaire. When it comes to the trajectory of fighters, I think Naoya Inoue has the better resume by far.
Here's one of the things that I'm kind of wondering, which is Nakatani is real good at mastering range, but I do think at times will be on the back foot. And if you look at a lot of Inoue's KOs, now understand what I'm about to say. I'm not saying he's Paulo Costa, who can't get a KO unless the guy is backed up against the fence. Like the only kind of power he has is when they're defenseless and immobile. That's really not what I mean. But if you do look at the tape, a lot of the knockouts that Inoue has, not all of them, but a lot of them are up against the ropes. Again, not because he can only get it there, but because guys retreat there. To what extent will that dynamic be in play? Because again, you can be on the retreating back foot, Jimmy, as you well know, and still outpointing the guy, still landing, still moving. So it's not, I'm saying, an automatically losing position, but just do you think they will settle into that kind of shape, so to speak?
I'm going to use a jiu-jitsu metaphor to describe a boxing match. When you look at high-level jiu-jitsu, you ever watch high-level grappling, right? Which I've had to call, and obviously I'm part of it, and I love it. 9 times out of 10, when an elite guy in gi jiu-jitsu gets a submission on the guy just goes, all right, I'm tired of getting mounted. I'm tired of Roger Gracie sitting on my chest here. Here's my arm. All right, just get me out of here, right? Because positionally, you're cooked, and you know it, and there's nowhere to go, and you're done. And with Naoya Inoue, a lot of guys at the end of dealing with his speed and his power, to your point, they just go, F this. It's a mental surrender more than it is he's tactically gotten them on the ropes and set them up for the perfect. Usually they're just like, all right, they're physically halfway to surrender. Will Nakatani get there in a fight that is, as I just said, the biggest fight in Japanese boxing history against a guy he's been wanting to fight forever, the biggest opportunity to be the man in Japan? Will he mentally break to the point where that's the position he's in? 9 times out of 10, when I've seen Naoya Inoue get a knockout against the ropes, the dude is just
on his last legs.
He's on his last legs anyway. And we're all sitting there going, okay, when's Naoya Inoue going to get it? It's not a matter of, man, that guy was brilliantly tactily moved to the ropes because of the footwork of they don't want to be there anymore. And will Nakatani get there? That's a big question. I think this is going to be one of those center of the ring knockouts, if it happens, where Nakatani is going to set his feet and go, hey, look, I got to catch this guy coming in, or that I got to plant and do it here. I think it's more likely to be a center of the ring type of knockout.
If Inoue wins, you've got Bud Crawford gone, and you've got Usyk, who I love and adore, but he's fighting Rico Verhoeven, in all fairness. Inoue is fighting Nakatani. If he beats Nakatani, is he pound for pound number 1?
I think he should be pound for pound number 1 now. I think Usyk is the only guy who should be above him. Bud Crawford says he's coming back, but he's functionally retired. I think when you look at everything they can do, and it's also a thing between lighter weights and heavyweights, the most skilled heavyweight ever, and you could easily put Usyk on that list. A guy like Muhammad Ali would certainly be on this, Lennox Lewis on that list. Lighter guys have to do more. So when you go, who can do more stuff for the pound for pound ranking? Who can do more things? Naoya Inoue can do all of it. Great defense, great footwork, great speed, precision, accuracy, head movement, ring IQ, everything you need. He does all of it. So you talk about pound for pound, which is if everyone were the same size, how would this person do? Show me anyone now that Bud Crawford is retired who outboxes Naoya Inoue for 12 rounds. I don't see it at any weight class. Boots Ennis, maybe, right? But I once again, I think Naoya Inoue.
He still has the strength of schedule thing.
He still has the strength of schedule where Boots Ennis isn't there yet. But Boots is another boxer. You look at him and you go, I don't see a weakness here, right? Yeah, so Naoya Inoue to me is the pound for pound king with a win, especially a dominant one over Nakatani.
All right, let's jump now to topic number 5, which is the other big ass boxing event this weekend. I don't know, I would call it, Canelo's not fighting on Cinco de Mayo weekend. I realize it's May 2nd, but effectively the Cinco de Mayo weekend. But you know who is the other monster in boxing, the Mexican monster, David Benavidez. He is going to be facing, look at this, cruiserweight champion Zurdo Ramirez. And I want you to pay close attention to the bottom of the graphic. This is a 200-pound bout. Now, what I mean by that is Ramirez has been 200 pounds. He actually had started out, at 175 at some point previously, but has been 200 for some time now. This is Benavidez. In his last fight, you'll recall he beat Anthony Yarde at 175. This is him going up to 200. And Jimmy, the interesting part about that is was at 175. He's going to 200 for this one. However, once this is over, he intends to go back to 175 and thinks he has a date with Dimitri Bivol, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Set the table for this fight. How should fight fans understand who these two are and why they're intersecting right now?
Well, one of it is Benavidez, you have to understand, spent a lot of time waiting for Canelo at 68. And the biggest criticism of Canelo Alvarez is he never fought David Benavidez, never fought David Morrell either. Those are the two guys who forever were the number 2 and 3 guys at 68, waiting around forever for Canelo to give him a shot. He never gave him one. That forced essentially both guys up, right? Then they end up fighting one another. Benavidez wins that fight. Has looked great at 175, but hasn't spent a lot of time at 75. You could argue that he's new at light heavyweight, which for non-boxing fans, 175 pounds. Now he's going up to cruiserweight. So it's not as though, man, I spent a lot of time at 75. My body's really, I think I need to move up. He didn't need to do anything. He was at 68 forever. So he's coming up basically for the challenge, taking on a guy whose only loss is to Dimitri Bivol, got outboxed. Well, Bivol outboxes everyone, so it's it's not a huge surprise. He's challenging himself and then going back down again to his natural weight, which is 175, which a lot of great fighters out there for him. So this is almost just, hey, I want to entertain the fans and see if I can do it. And then Zurdo Ramirez, that is a big, strong cruiserweight. That guy is a big dude, real power. Only guy to beat him, as I said, Dimitri Bivol, that was outboxing him. Hasn't had any problem with the punching power of anybody else. But it's aesthetically, it's going to be a great fight. When you look at the hand speed and the combinations of David Benavidez, they're second to none, man. And I think the reason Canelo didn't fight him is I don't think he beats a prime Benavidez at 68. So this is a guy who is always challenging and always pushing himself, taking on a guy who has been at that weight class doing great things for a long time. This is going to be a great fight. I can't wait to see this one.
Dude, I love David Benavidez so much. I know his career got started with some, some fits and starts, missing weight and drug test failures around drugs and recreation and, just all kinds of nonsense. But he's really ironed it out. Dude, he challenges himself. Yeah. He's chasing glory. He is, and I don't, he's favored to win here on this weekend. But I just love a guy who is committed to greatness. And again, I want to be clear, like the guys who chase money, I have no objection to it. I really don't. Like it's just part of it too. But it's really nice to have guys in the fight game who you don't have to beg to take fights, so you don't have to beg and plead and put pressure on the promoter. This guy is signing up for everything you could possibly give him. And Jimmy, I wanted to float this by you. I saw some other folks in boxing talking about this, and I think it's a pretty astute point. Like one of the things that David Benavidez has said this week, and if you're an MMA fan, maybe you don't fully appreciate this, but just to hear me out anyway. One of the things that is starting to become apparent is you mentioned like he tried to get the fight with Alvarez and he couldn't get it. And so he's moving on. He moved on a while ago, obviously. But to me, making this fight on Cinco de Mayo, really kind of leaning into a tough challenge. You got another Mexican. I know David Benavidez is half Ecuadorian, half Mexican, but effectively Mexican. And then he's got a Mexican opponent. This is him trying to say, I'm pushing Canelo aside, not merely as an opponent, but as the anchor of the Mexican fighting fan base on like these holidays. These are my holidays now. The September one, this one, and he may fight in September or not, but like kind of asserting himself as the face of Mexican boxing at a time when Canelo's kind of coming this way and he's really surging. He's pushing him out promotionally as an icon as well. I wonder if you agree with that sentiment.
That's what he's attempting to do. Right? I'm not saying whether he does or not, or whether he can supplant Canelo Alvarez, who has a cultural force, has been huge. The way I always say it is, my mom knows who that person is. Right? My mom, if you said Canelo Alvarez, mom goes, yeah, boxer, right? Yeah. My mom's 79, right? So it's this idea that who does the average fan know, right? Canelo Alvarez. You don't have to be a boxing fan knows who that is. Now, David Benavidez, boxing fans know who he is. Has he had that crossover ability? Not yet. I think he will be there very, very soon, especially with a dominant performance over Zurdo Ramirez. Gets the right dance partners at 75. I do think he can go back down. I don't think cruiserweight, A, is not a natural weight class for him. B, there's not a whole lot of talent. It's never been a huge weight class with a lot of depth. So 175, certainly better for him. He can supplant Canelo if he keeps going with Canelo taking on Christian Mbiili, looks like later this year. He definitely is in a position to do it. Hasn't done it yet. You need crossover ability. The guy at 7'11" needs to know who you are. And right now, Benavidez is not there, but he could be, especially in the next couple of years.
Well, I mean, it's hard to be a crossover star when the big stars don't want to fight you, Right. Like if he had fought Alvarez, and I'm with you, I think he would have beaten him. Stopped him, I don't know. Canelo's got a legendary chin, but he would have won, and that would have been fucking huge for him. He's having to forge
the new Mexican star.
Right. Now let's talk about Zurdo Ramirez here a little bit. This Zurdo's a good fighter. I don't think he's a better fighter than David, but like the punching power, I'm curious how that's going to look for David coming up 25 pounds. Obviously, he's going to have a little bit more, but it's not a natural weight class for him. I think this is a more natural place for Ramirez, as the name indicates. He is a southpaw. He is about the same range in terms of the reach, and again, an experienced, credentialed fighter. How sturdy of a challenge do you anticipate Ramirez being for a downhill kind of fighter like Benavidez?
To me, it's about the body punches. Zurdo's a great body puncher. He can really hurt you downstairs. And when you're the naturally bigger guy, which Zurdo Ramirez is, you want to chop him down, right? You want to make him feel that, I'm naturally bigger than you. These in-tight Mexican positions, which is head-to-head, not a lot of foot movement. If he can work the body early, which I've seen him punish guys throughout his career with body shots. If he can make that a big factor, also slow down the natural hand speed of Benavidez coming up from 175 pounds. He's quicker. He's a bit lighter. Take his legs out from underneath him with that inside work. And if he can make this a phone booth kind of fight, it can negate the hand speed. It can take away the gas. It can slow down a lot of Benavidez's game, because Benavidez against David Morrell, for example, the guy he just beat, another guy that Canelo didn't want to fight. Morrell started out very strong. Morrell showed good, what we'll call A to B speed. His hand speed was very, very good. And Benavidez started countering with these short combinations, right? Taking the speed and then throwing these pitter-pat, very fast, very accurate shots, and he started taking the fight over and taking the real estate away from David Morrell. Well, it's a similar kind of thing for Zurdo. If Zurdo can stalk Benavidez down and bank rounds early, I don't think Benavidez can take kind of the late start he had against Morrell. I don't think he can do that against Zurdo Ramirez. I think he wants to establish himself early in this fight, but Zurdo has a really good chance. I really believe it's going to be a tough fight, especially if you can get the body shots working early. That should be a big part of his strategy.
I do like Benavidez. I like his chances here. Didn't love his performance against Vosdik, but he did look really good against Yard.
And Vozdik's tricky.
Vozdik's tricky. He's very tricky.
Awkward,
a very clever boxer, even if he's a little older. That kind of a thing. So I, fair enough. And I think that was also his first fight at 75, if memory serves. I double check that. But in any case, put up the graphic for the main card if you can, Long Island. Oh, no, well, yeah, here we go. So if you look at that co-main event, Armando Resendiz, who has been a surprising success story in certain ways, here against Jaime Munguia, who had a lot of promise maybe as him being the future of Mexican boxing, but has kind of come back down to earth. I realize he avenged his last loss, but nevertheless, surprising that he had one to begin with. How do you size up Resendiz and Munguia?
Well, Munguia to me is the question mark, right? This was a guy after the fight with Canelo. We thought, okay, overwhelmed a little bit, beaten a little bit by the moment in that fight, not just his opponent, but beaten by the moment as well. At the upset to the French fighter, his name escapes me now.
Saras,
yeah, and but was able to come back. Yeah, where are you? Right, where do you land? Resendiz is a tough dude. Resendiz is a great fighter that, it's I think this could be one of those showcase opportunities for him against a guy who, we don't know exactly what he has in the tank at the elite level. I always tell people the questions make a fight interesting, right? It isn't just the answers, the questions going in. And when you look at Jaime Munguia, to me, he has a lot of question marks around him in this co-main event. And Resendiz might be the guy to have performance of the night against Munguia and put himself in a great position. I think that's going to be a great one.
I mean, it's just amazing to me. Like, Resendiz has been left for dead on this, on the side of the road. Yep. And like when you think he wasn't going to rescue himself, he does. It's quite remarkable. Whereas Munguia, he's kind of got a little bit of that. I mean, I realize Edgar Berlanga is Puerto Rican, but like he's got a little bit of that Berlanga shit where he was like killing everyone coming up. And then the competition got a little stiffer, and you're like, oh, you're not the same guy. Right. Well, who are you? I think we're still trying to figure that out with Munguia. I think we'll get a good test. Resendiz is going to help us answer that one, I think, in a pretty interesting way.
Yeah, but we've seen the toughness mentally and physically of Resendiz. And remember, he's less than 20 fights. I want to say 18 fights.
Yes,
so
16 and 2.
Yeah. So it's this idea that with that experience level, he's been able to dig deep in a way guys with that experience level usually can't, right? Those first couple losses tend to knock you off, especially when you've had 15 to 20 fights. He showed good resilience, but Munguia definitely, obviously, experience-wise and bright lights-wise, big fights-wise, on the A side for this fight. Looking at the odds. Yeah, Resendiz plus 155, Munguia minus 200. Yeah, that's about right. That's what I would say it should be.
Fun ass fight. And there's other ones on this card. Put the card one more time. I'll just very quickly mention this. The Angel Fierro fight against Oscar Duarte is also a shit ton of fun. So, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the previous host, Morning Combat's Brian Campbell, is going to be calling these fights for PBC.
Yeah.
So we'll be on the lookout for that. All right, that is our top 5 here for Friday's show. So much combat sports action coming at you this weekend. Long Island, take it away, my friend.
Well, guys, it's everybody's favorite game. It is time for Rank That Card.
Rank That Card! It sucks.
I'm not sure if it's anyone's favorite game, by the way, but that's all right. LT, which Aussie fighter is most likely to fight for a title one day? Colby Thickness, Jacob Malkoun, or Jonathan McCaleb?
I mean, not one of them will. But,
but it's most likely. You know?
I'll go McCaleb, Thickness, and Malkoun. I mean, I actually don't think Thickness is better than Malkoun, but Malkoun's far enough along in the path for me to declare like it's impossible.
But he's also at middleweight.
Theoretically possible.
He's also at middleweight. He has a clear path. He's also, I believe, they're all under the age of 30, but I believe Malkoun is still just 29, which I was
doesn't matter.
All right. No, Jimmy, would you rank it any differently, or
I would rank it exactly that? As I said before, the hardest question to get answered is, hey, how far am I going to go? Once that's answered, you are a different person. I think Malkoun, it's been answered a little bit more than the others. So yeah, I would rank it exactly the same.
All right. Well, Jimmy, which underdog do you think has the best chance of winning? Louis Sutherland, who's taken on Tai Tuivasa, Kevin Christian, who's taken on Junior Tafa, or Tim Elliott, who's taken on Steve Erceg?
Dude, I can't believe all these people are underdogs. First off, for the same reason when it comes to Christian and Louis Sutherland, they take it on. Tafa is a big plodding heavyweight without a lot of range who could knock you out if you're right in front of him. Same thing with Tai Tuivasa is taking on Louis Sutherland. So either one of those could easily be an upset. I'll go with Tim Elliott. He's an experienced veteran guy with a great submission game. That is always a dangerous combination because he takes advantage when you're out of position. Coming off the Asakura win, which was by guillotine. I'll go with Tim Elliott just because I believe that he's got that veteran savvy. Kevin Christian, Louis Sutherland, neither one of those guys have been in a big fight under big lights. They might lose to the moment as much as their opponent. Tim Elliott's not going to do that. Got to go with Tim Elliott.
Hell yeah. LT?
You know what? I'm going to go Louis Sutherland because he's fighting Tai Tuivasa. You know what I mean? Like,
a guy who's lost 6 in a row.
See,
that's the easiest. Oh, shoot bet on an underdog. Yeah, these three. Any one of them.
I love that Jimmy picked Tim Elliott because I have the bet on Tim Elliott. But at the same time,
it's a good bet. Yeah.
At the same time, I feel not that I think Kevin Christian's going to win, but I feel like Junior Tafa is the weakest link here of all the opponents. Where
you know what?
Any of them are fair.
Exactly.
All three of these guys are underdogs, right?
Totally.
LT, which fighter would you most want to party with? Wes Schultz, his nickname is Party Time, Carlos Prates, or Tai Tuivasa?
No, so people are going to be tempted to say Tai Tuivasa. I'm 46, man. I'm not trying to wake up in my own piss and shit on the side of the road or maybe in a jail. The answer is Carlos Prates because he's cool, but he seems like laid back and is not the kind of guy to like jump off a roof at a house party.
A lot of
Whereas Tai Tuivasa is like,
though.
hey, let's set the 4-wheeler on fire and then jump it over this fucking shed, you know?
Yeah, but I think like Prates is the guy you're like in a bar and he lights up a cigarette and you're like, whoa, you can't smoke in here. And he's like, it's fine, brother. You know, like, and
cool
now you're getting into a bunch of trouble.
I'm cool with that over like, oh, you're in the ER because you passed out and your friends stuffed a beer can up your ass and we now have to fucking extricate it. Like, no, I'm good on that.
No, not picking Wes Schultz, not even considering him or.
How could you even consider him? Given the other names.
His nickname is Party Time. He clearly got that nickname for a reason. Maybe the guy is a fun time. I don't know.
I've just seen a lot of guys get stupid nicknames for stupid reasons.
All right.
That's all I'm going to say. I've been in this game long enough to have seen a ton of that. I would go with Prates as well. Tai Tuivasa seems like the kind of guy who would get you in serious trouble. Anyone who's willing, anyone's like, hey, drink out of a shoe. I'm like, I'm not having. Carlos Prates has a daughter. He's got to be up at some point. He's got to give some kind of he's like, but the daughter was with him at the weigh-in. So I think it's more like, hey, I do active stuff with my kid. So he would be in bed at a reasonable time. I'm going Carlos Prates. Come on, I'm old.
All right. I mean, I'm going Tai Tuivasa for the fun.
I know you are.
Yeah. All right. Jimmy, who will have more UFC fights after this card? Gerald Meerschaert, Beneil Dariush, or Tim Elliott?
I got to go with Tim Elliott simply because Beneil Dariush, I don't know if he continues fighting should he lose dramatically on this card. Sucks. Love you, Beneil. He might not consider going anymore. Gerald Meerschaert did not make weight. The promotion does almost like, what is it, 4 pounds? A lot. Yeah. So to the point where UFC is like, hey, we don't need you, right? That is not good. Tim Elliott losing to Steve Erceg, a potential contender. All right, if he loses, he's still a factor at 125. He's not losing fights in a row. He won his last one. Tim Elliott has more fights after this for those two reasons. Bang.
Okay. That's fair. He's 39 years old. That's kind of the only reason I have him on there. Otherwise, I think you're correct. Beneil's still just, what, Luke, you said turning 37 this week?
In like 2 days, yeah.
It's still
in fight years, he is 60.
Yeah.
He's just been from the beginning. Beneil was just in like fed to everybody who was any good. It's
Poor
crazy.
Guy.
Yeah.
LT, who do you think is going to have more UFC fights after this card?
Yeah, I'd go Elliott, Meerschaert, and then Dariush, probably in that order. There are all questions about all three, but Tim Elliott seems like he's got the freshest legs, so to speak, of any of them.
That's fair. All right, LT, which debuting fighter is most likely to be ranked one day? Ali Schmid, Dom Marfan, or Ben Johnston? Be fair, do you know who any of these guys are?
I know who Dom Marfan is. I don't know about Johnston or Schmid. Schmid did not look very good. Isn't he the one who's 4-2?
He's 4-2. I believe he's been finished in both of those losses, and all 4 guys that he beat, not one of them has a winning record.
Jesus Christ.
He's a CKB guy, though, for whatever that's worth.
All right, but CKB has good fighters and bad fighters like any other Tim does.
Blood Diamond.
I'll go Dom Marfan, 26. One on road to UFC, looks pretty good. And then I'll go Johnston Schmid.
See, Johnson, 35 years old, making his UFC debut.
I put him second. I didn't put him first.
Yeah, all right. Jimmy, you changing that at all? Or
no, I'm not. But here's one thing that is so weird about today's UFC, in a sense, is with Dana White's Contender Series, with them having so many shows, guys are getting on cards 4th, 5th fight in your career. You're going, you're just getting started. I remember back in the day, guys would make their UFC debut and it was their MMA debut. That's how far back I go. But it's almost like we're returning back to a time like, all right, any of you fight MMA? All right, cool. We got a card in Australia. 4th or 5th fight, I see guys just take on guys that are just too tough. They came in through Contender Series, so they're 3-0, 4-0. And then they're taking on real talent in their 2nd or 3rd UFC fight. And I go, guys, you are 5 years away from fighting this guy. It's just not. This isn't where you should be at all, right? This is like, a high school senior going to the NFL. You're like, okay, you might be there for maybe another couple years. So that's happening a lot. It's just so hard to judge stuff like this because of that. Guys are getting in really, really early.
All right. Well, Jimmy, who's the most entertaining fighter on the card? Quillen Saul-Killed, Tai Tuivasa, Carlos Prates. You can factor both fighting and in and out of the cage antics.
God, I'm going with Prates here. I know that's an easy one here. I got to go with Prates. I like his style. I like his attitude. I like his interviews. I like him having a face-off with his kid and his opponent. I like all of it. Tai Tuivasa, super duper fun. I just get the feeling if Tai, after 6 in a row, if the going gets tough, he might have a bad heavyweight fight, which is the worst thing on earth. Saul-Killed is fighting a very, very tough guy, and Beneil Dariush, he might have to fight smart. Carlos Prates, I think, is both tactically and with the matchup in a position to have a very entertaining fight there.
Okay. LT?
I'm going to go Prates 1. I'm going to agree. I'm going to switch it up after that, though. I'm going to go Saul-Killed 2 and then Tuivasa 3 because Tuivasa's current form to me is in no way entertaining. I just want to be very clear about
when
that.
He knocks out when he knocks out Louis Sutherland and is doing a shoey on top of the cage, you're not going to smile a little bit?
You won't be like,
this is a personal preference question. No, I'm not.
Just smile. Like, you're not going to be like, good for him. Yeah, exactly.
I'll be like, good for him, but I'm not going to be like, wow, I find this wildly entertaining. No,
I mean, all right, fair enough. LT, which CKB fighter is most likely to win a title one day? Your boy Ali Schmid, 4-2, Brando Pericic, the Balkan Bear, or Battle Giraffe, Cam Rouston?
I'll go Cam Rouston. I'll go in reverse order here. I'll go Rouston, Pericic, Schmid.
So you're not thinking like, ooh, Pericic has the clearest path at heavyweight?
I don't think super highly of his ability. Can I be
I don't either, but I feel like he has the best path, whereas Cam Rouston's going to have to fight some killers on the way there, and I don't know if he gets past them.
I mean, can I be honest? I don't think any of them are going to be fighting for titles, so this is sort of a moot point.
Well, did you think Carlos Ulberg would be fighting for a title when he got finished by Kennedy Nzechukwu in his UFC debut? No, you didn't. And look at him now. So
I didn't think he would be. I didn't think that was impossible.
All right. Well, Jimmy, you changing that?
Cam Rouston. Yeah. I mean, tall middleweight is what, 6'3", 6'4", right? Cody Brunch's fight looked good. Yeah, maybe he sneaks in there and goes on a streak. Certainly a possibility. Got to go with Cam Rouston based on physical ability and the depth of division. They're going to be recycling talent a lot, I think, with Chimaev. So, yeah, there's a chance he sneaks in.
All right. That's fair. Jimmy, who's most likely to avoid a 3rd straight loss? Temba Garimbo, Louis Sutherland, or Junior Tafa?
Probably Junior Tafa. That would be my guess. Junior Tafa, either it works or it doesn't. We just talked about his ability to get, for the upset to happen in this one. Yeah, it's certainly possible. I would say Junior Tafa, because when you look at an Australian card and Tafa's on it, they're going to give him someone stylistically that he can at least look decent against. And Christensen at 9-3 is not a world beater. I think Tafa, if I had to bet on it, is probably the guy who gets it done. When I look at Sutherland taking on Tai Tuivasa, and also wasn't he late notice for this one?
Yes, like a week ago.
So that's another thing. Is Tai Tuivasa at least had a full camp for this one? I think that makes him a pretty serious underdog in this one. Garimbo, taking on Jonathan. What? McAuliffe? That his name? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Stylistically, I
Possibly.
feel like it's a good matchup for Cuervo, but he is technically the underdog. So
I gotta go with Tafa then.
All right.
Who is
I'll
favored
agree.
in this fight?
I'll go in reverse order here. I'll go Tafa, Sutherland, Garimbo.
All right.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same as Jimmy. All right. LT, which nickname
LT
would you
likes me a lot, by the way, if you haven't noticed. Luke and
true.
I he just doesn't want to.
That's true.
I don't want
to. Which nickname
I
would
asked
you
somebody
choose
notice to be on my show. Okay.
for Jimmy to adopt, LT? Jimmy the Juggernaut Smith, Jimmy Street Buddha Smith, or Jimmy Bam Bam Smith?
Please.
I would like to give you Street Buddha because I don't even know what the fuck that means.
That's Don Marfan's nickname. I don't know.
But instead I'm going to give you Bam Bam because that doesn't really work either. But like the Juggernaut, you're not some frail little child, but you're not a huge person.
Yeah, but you got the alliteration of Jimmy the Juggernaut. It kind of works.
It does work. But so does Bam Bam. I mean,
Bam Bam kind of works for anyone. But
yeah.
I'll go Bam Bam, and then as your backup, like your Brazilian nickname, I'd go Juggernaut, and then Street Buddha when you're in Australia. How about that?
You know what they called me when I was sparring Brazilians? You know the story? They called me Paraíba. You know what that means?
Mm-mm.
It means you got a big head. It's a state in Brazil. I was sparring with this middleweight Brazilian dude, and we're just like beating the crap out of each other. And he turns to his coach and goes, Paraíba, and pointing at me. And I went, what does that mean? And he goes, Paraíba is a state like the Pitbull brothers. Right? Patricio Pitbull he goes, they're known for having like big heads. And he goes, you just can't knock them out. You hit him with anything, you don't knock them out. And the guy points to me and goes, Paraíba. He goes, yeah, he's just saying you just have a rock for a head. So
Bam Bam works for that then too.
Yeah, so now Bam Bam's great.
Yeah, Bam Bam.
I can get hit and I don't notice.
All right, last one, Jimmy. Which nickname would you choose for LT to adopt? Luke Freaky Thomas, Luke Party Time Thomas, or Luke Astro Boy Thomas?
Freaky, and I won't even give any details to make it less awkward. Freaky.
Yes, perfect.
I won't dignify it by prefacing it with here's why. I'm just going to leave it out there for everybody. I know a lot about Luke.
That's all we need to hear.
Known Luke for a long time.
Hell yeah.
All right, LT, I'll let you take it away from here. But that
all right, very, very good. Appreciate that. All right, so as you guys know, at all times, you can send us your memes. You can send us your fan subs, morningcombat@gmail.com. Now, Jimmy, here's what we do. Please. Every month, we ask the fans to send us their best memes about the show, roasting us, roasting whatever. Sure. And then each month, we give a signed poster to the best one. We're going to announce that here shortly. But for today, I'm going to show you a bunch of – wow, we got a fuck ton of these. Okay. I'm going to show you a bunch.
Technical term.
Real quick, we're not going to announce the winner today. We're showing the remainder of April today. We'll announce the winner on Monday.
Yeah, sorry. I should have made that clear. I meant shortly. I meant like within short order, but not today. But okay, it's time for fan submissions.
Sweet.
You've got mail.
Viewers. You've got male viewers indeed. All right, our first meme comes to us from Jesse. Let's see. BC returning to MK after his Paramount contract is over as DJ, what was his name? Too Cheesy? Is that right?
Too Cheesy, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what to say about this, except I do kind of like it.
Love the face tattoos.
Yeah, the face tattoos are great.
Mm-hmm. That's really the overtop thing.
All right, next one comes to us from Kevin S. Familiar faces outside the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Oh, with the FBI shirt, female body inspector? No, sorry.
No, look on the right. Look on the right. He put you and BC as the two guys standing.
I didn't even notice the grandpa in the back.
That is Luke checking out the scene.
And dude, does his fucking shirt say femboy body inspector?
Yeah, now that I'm reading it, yes, it does. I didn't even realize that.
Or femboy
body or
something.
Yeah.
That's got to be a little bit weird, huh? Showing up with one of those shirts in public, that's always a little.
It's a wee bit strange.
You know what, man? If you go down to like where you've seen in cities like DC's obviously got a bunch of these, but like any big city kind of has like one place where someone is just like perpetually protesting from that spot. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're not even protesting anything current. They're just kind of protesting the state of things.
Right.
You'll go down there and those donks are wearing some weird shit. I'll say that. I definitely have seen that. All right. From RJ, we got a meme. How Morning Combat hosts see female fighters. Chuck as a fighter. Luke as a princess. BC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. I'm a little bit, I would say, between A and B here, but BC is definitely C. Do you know Brian Campbell, Jimmy?
We have run across one another every now and then in this business.
Yeah, cover your drink. I'll just say
no one's like, also like, people always ask me, do you know so-and-so? I was like, dude, this business isn't that big. I've met or been around just about everyone. Yeah.
All right, from David, we got a meme. He says, Chuck's a secret fan. I'm not buying that he didn't know of her. Oh, Chuck went to the Angela White meet and greet. Look at this horn dog, huh? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Great. Do you know Chuck Mindenhall, Jimmy?
Only through his work. I don't know. We may have met at some point, but I don't know him.
Yeah. Well, he is horny. Understand that, okay?
That is great. That's awesome.
All right, from
I
Adam.
feel like that's not an accurate depiction of Chuck. You're just telling strangers like
he's
that's
horny.
A DC thing, not a Chuck thing. I mean,
dude, that's the point of the joke. It's just to sort of make nonsense. All right, Adam says, I posted this on Twitter a while ago. LT and BC have seen this already, but wanted to submit it here as well. Thanks.
Biatch, you're looking at the master, the one. Right next to me from DC. Folks, bitch, tipping on fofos, wrapped in folks, bitch.
Outstanding. Oh my God, that is great stuff.
We've done
wonderful.
Jimmy, I've spent the last 7 years of my life, certainly prior to that, but especially in the last 7, doing the dumbest shit you've thought possible. I want to be very clear about that.
Oh yeah, I can see that 100%. No,
all right, from Eric, he says,
Eric
says, a simple meme that captures the current vibe. Let's see. Luke, meth whores come 9/11 dicks gambling shits, Oscar and Jed. And then Chuck looking around. That's Jimmy too. Jimmy's like, yo, what the fuck did I just stumble into here with these two? This is pretty fucking accurate. So what we do, Jimmy, is we rotate. Yes. So Monday is just me and Chuck. And then Friday we rotate. Hence you're here, and I have Oscar Willis from the Mac Live.
Hence me being the last choice here on Friday.
No, fuck that. Well, you'll be back. It's great.
Right.
But we're rotating in and out on Fridays, right? Sort of a newer thing that we're doing. And Oscar and Jed sort of get the show, which is it's half like very serious analysis, half, hey, let's talk about 9/11 dicks, gambling, and whores. But Chuck is, he's a sweetheart. He's a good man, and he, it's a little bit of a challenge for him to do that. Jimmy Smith, how much are you into whores and meth?
A lot.
Yes.
Define a lot.
I mean, you're in Florida. How could you not be into meth?
I am from Long Beach, California.
I know.
I'm from a rough city.
But you went to the other beach on the other side of the country.
Yes.
Filled with weirdos. You understand?
But I grew up in a place that's weird. Anyway, so come on, give me a break here.
That was great. All right. Dave says, I got a world-class MK breakdown for Prochazka versus Ulberg.
This is for you because very handsome man.
Why don't you go blow him? How about that?
I mean, if you can get behind it. And does Yuri Prochazka stop coming?
He's a comer. This guy's coming on twice, and it got worse the second time.
He's a comer.
He's a comer. Brian Campbell at the bus stop's a comer too. Yeah. I like to go in there and bang.
Banging.
Fucking DC.
How many handsome people do you know who have?
That is analysis gold, Luke. You earn every dollar of whatever you make on this show.
Dude, it's amazing. Every time I do this show, I'm like,
so much tactics. No, tell me more about footwork, Luke.
Bro, every day I do this show, I'm like, is today the day I get fired? Because it probably should be. You know what I mean? All right. That was great, by the way. From Matt, he says, MK's biggest scandal, Rossini and Vrabel. Me and Chuck interlocking fingers. Look at that. Who knows what else we're interlocking?
Dude, you're so smitten with the ring.
You are putting a ring on a finger.
Guys, I'm going to need to go to weekend counseling and skip the draft. Is that okay?
Oh my God. That's an engagement moment for sure.
Are you following that story, the Rossini Vrabel story, Jimmy?
No, I am not.
You're not?
No. Oh, a little bit. I know of it. I'm not necessarily up on it. Well, they got caught, at a.
Yeah, but I mean, like the levels of like how much her reporting has now called into question.
Yeah, I know about the start of the story. I haven't been keeping up with it that much. Yeah.
Oh well, she got her. The reason it's kind of interesting to me is she got her start here in DC locally, covering.
Oh, okay, all right.
Then the Redskins when Dan Snyder owned them, and dude, her coverage here was like crazy pro Dan Snyder. at a time when, like, obviously, dude,
everyone hated Dan Snyder.
Yeah, especially here in DC. Like, get this fucking guy out of here. And it would be weird. You turn on the local news, and it would be like the chummiest shit you'd ever seen. And I didn't know what to make of it. I still don't know what to make of it. But to see this kind of thing play out has been like,
that could be why. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Christian's got 3 memes for us here. Let's see. First one: gas station, hot dogs, and Arby's. BC's immune system. I don't understand this meme. So, like, the immune system is keeping away the gas station, hot dogs, and Arby's?
No, it's like
fighting to keep him alive.
He's sleeping like a baby while his immune system is battling all these.
Oh, I see. Okay. It's okay. All right, next one. Let's see. Perception is everything. Apex Fight Night, Luke Thomas. Apex Fight Night, Long Island Luke.
Banger. This is a good one.
That's a
Who
great
the fuck
one.
do
you think you are, brother?
Oh, I didn't mean to hit that other sound drop.
That's a good one. All right, next. Catch up on sleep, emails, and work projects. Fly out to fucking Iowa and call regional MMA fights. Yes, I did that. Jimmy, where is the most remote place you've ever been? Now, for calling fights. Now, understand something. I'm not saying Iowa is super remote. It's not. I'm not in the middle of Antarctica, for fucking crying out loud. But I had to go to Iowa City, Iowa, to call fights for XFC. It was a great night. But, not like this was not Manhattan, obviously. What's a location? You did Thackerville with Bellator?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Varna, Bulgaria. There. How's that? Varna, Bulgaria.
How was that?
M1. All right. So I got a story with Varna, Bulgaria.
Okay.
The heavyweight, I forget his name on that particular card. Because it was like a Team America versus Team Bulgaria. It was a team country MMA thing. And the heavyweight won his fight by heel hook and hopped out of the ring and was gone. Like, I don't even know if they raised his hand. He just won. All right, I won. Boom. And he was gone. And I know that was weird. He had been threatened at the hotel. Like, if you win, you're a dead man. And he had won and just went boop and like ran out of the ring because he had been threatened by whoever, the team or friends of the heavyweight he was fighting. And he like jetted out of the ring straight to the airport.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's real.
Now you know. But it's like, when you're in Varna, Bulgaria, you're like, well, and then somebody, I want to say that show or some other show, somebody had like an M1 paper to pick somebody. It wasn't me. It wasn't part of my flight. And then he saw somebody else with an M1 thing and went over to them. Was like, hey, and he goes, yeah. He goes, what's that other guy's like? Could be somebody trying to kidnap you. And got in the car and drove off. Like, yeah, they do that sometimes. Like, they know a fight's coming and they're trying to. I swear. Yeah, so I've called fights. This is many, many years ago, but yeah, I've called fights all over the world in places. You're
Dude,
like, oh my God,
this world is insane. Like, why did we choose this industry? I don't quite get it.
Ask myself that every single day. Every day, I ask myself that when I think about everything I have done and the places I have been. It's nuts.
It is nuts. All right. Lastly, from Saul, the man, he says, greetings from Louisville, Kentucky. It's Derby week. With that being said, my wife's charcuterie business is pretty busy this time of year, and she needs her berries washed. Is that an invitation
is
to
that
BC?
A metaphor? Is that a metaphor?
And trash to be thrown away while she does the real work. She asked how I'd like to be paid, and there's only one real answer. Mid-tier Mexican food. Fuck yeah. I specifically ordered a pink hat because a lot of people, wear pink this week. Always fun to join the festivities. MK all day. Jimmy, did you have a favorite coming from Southern California? Yes. Did you have a favorite? I realize that there's very good Mexican food there, but did you have a favorite mid-tier spot that you would go to?
Mid-tier doesn't make it, man. In it's all really damn good. My favorite Mexican place is El Cholo on Western in LA. It was founded in like the 20s. It's been there forever. That is like my favorite Mexican spots. El Cholo, and there's a place called Super Mex in Long Beach, where I'm from, that is once again been there forever. It is great. And one thing I really miss is really good Mexican food. So those are my local spot in Long Beach, Super Mex. My spot in LA is El Cholo on Western. Fantastic stuff.
Can I say something about Florida that I do like, and I'm being serious about this? So I'm not saying that. In fact, I'm saying the opposite. In no way, shape, or form is the Mexican food in Florida on par with the food in California, the Mexican food anyway.
No.
Like, they're not the same. I get that. What I will say, though, is, in my opinion, what has surprised me about Florida is that generally Hispanic food, so Peruvian food, Argentinian food, Mexican, there's some, again, not as good as California, but but in general, like the different kinds of Hispanic food you can get, it's fucking good in Florida, dude. I've been very surprised by that.
Yeah, and also because of where it is, Cuban, Dominican.
Yes,
right.
totally.
So a lot of like Caribbean food. It's really, really good. But California, man, when it comes to Central American and Mexican, it is the best. Yes. I absolutely love it. Yeah, but you get good Peruvian out here too. So yes, but California has the best Mexican food in the world.
Dude, I was just in LA for spring break, and I took my kid to Universal, and we had a good time doing some tourist stuff out there. The breakfast burritos out there, bro,
so good.
Oh, I don't know what they do
absurd.
With the tortilla, but it's like strong but stretchy.
Yep.
Oh my god, bro, it's so fucking delicious.
A lot of lard.
Believe it.
A lot of lard.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like
I will say this about LA, and I don't understand the rules or the laws, but the side of the road donks, just like throwing up a tent and we're making horchata and then we're grilling out.
It is amazing.
It's amazing.
Beyond belief. Yes. It's some of the best street food. Yeah.
I'd be driving around. We rented a car. I'd be driving around and you'd see them, by the way, day and night. I want to be clear about that. Food trucks, but not necessarily food trucks. These motherfuckers would have lines, bro. They'd have lines for a little like table on the side of the road. And then you'd roll your window down and you'd smell it and you'd be like, oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no, it's the best, man. I love it. Every time I come out of a concert, you go to the Greek or whatever, and you're walking down to your car and they'd have a bunch of them set up and you're like, I'm eating all of that. It is amazing.
Yeah, it's so freaking good. All right. What a show it was here today. Jimmy, you did a phenomenal job. Now, understand one more time, you're doing Game Bread tonight. How can folks watch and what else can they do to access more of your work?
Oh, more of my work, J Smith MMA is where you find me on Instagram. Right now, the last one I did is on YouTube, and I think this is the one I'm doing tonight. Is the same thing. Check it out on YouTube. Game Bread. It's a tournament heavyweight and lightweight. It's going to be absolutely awesome. It's from here in Miami, and dude, look for me. Like I said, J Smith MMA is where you find me on Instagram. Keep up with me. Appreciate you guys.
I gotta say, I do love. I don't love or hate bare knuckle. It's fine,
Yep.
I feel like bare knuckle MMA is a lot more interesting because of the way it actually impacts jiu-jitsu. I mean, there's a lot of things it impacts, but the fact that the gloves can slide through a lot more, or no, sorry, the hands can slide through because there's no gloves. It actually makes a huge difference. Have you noticed that while calling fights?
I have. Also, guillotines are a mother. Guys always get their gloves stuck under here. You put your chin down, you can't get it. Without gloves, man, it is deep. I really appreciate the ground game in bare knuckle MMA. But so far, it's my second one calling. I've had a great time. It's been a lot of fun.
Long Island, how can folks get more? And what is your coverage plan for the weekend?
Oh, you already know. I did the math just now. 15 hours, I will be live. Full card UFC Perth watch along. You already know. Also, in 15 minutes, I got PT Carroll taking on Eric Jackman, New York Rick, in a semifinal matchup. Winner moves on in the prop quiz tourney for $100, all that fun stuff. So I'll see everyone at 4 a.m.
Great. I will have a post-fight show certainly for UFC Perth. That'll be on youtube.com/Luke Thomas. Again, you can email the show, morningcombat@gmail.com, and the merch is still up, morningcombat.shop. You can get, we'll have the new releases for you on Monday. We'll announce the winner for the meme contest, all that fun stuff on Monday as well. For Jimmy Smith, Jimmy, thank you so much. For Long Island, I'm Luke Thomas. We'll see you guys on Monday with Chuck, and until next time, may all of your gains be loyal.